Hello, guys. It's Mark Zickery, Mr. Sci-Fi. I'm just going to start the table meeting, and we can have a nice chat. And I hope you're all staying safe and well. Let me just get Elaine's thing up and running. We're on two computers as usual on these Thursday nights, and I hope you're nice and safe wherever you are. So that life is good. So that's about it. Okay, let's see. Just looking to do all this stuff. Table. Connie. Okay. Update table. Okay, hang on one sec. We'll get it in 1 second. Sorry to be taking a little bit of time. Let's see. Here we go. Hi, guys. Hello, everybody. So I'm just getting on to the, here we go. Okay, there we are. And there's this, and this should work. Yay. I'm just still learning all of this technology. So, but it's good to see everyone. And we'll be talking, we're running my regular table meeting, talking about film and TV and careers and all of that. And then also we're answering the Mr. Sci-Fi question. So if you have questions for me about what I'm working on now, what we're doing, here we go. Let's see, join with computer audio.
Where can I mute?
Hi, guys. Here we go. Let's see, let me unmute.
We're not hearing you, Mark.
Okay, hold on, unmute. There, can you hear me now? Great, terrific. So welcome, everyone. Hi, how's everyone doing? Good to see everyone on Mr. Sci-Fi and on the table. So let me see. So now there's Connie and there's Paul. I know you two are in the UK. So why don't we start? How about we start with you, Paul? Go for it.
Yeah, Mark.
Oh, what? I'm sorry, David. What were you going to say, David?
Mark?
Yes.
Yeah. Before you get too far into it, due to my current status, I'd like to, after the UK people go, I'd like to go too.
Okay, because yeah, that's fine. Why don't we start with you, David, and then you can explain why you're first among men. So
Gonna leave everyone hanging.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I have my officially approved Corona T-shirt on today. This is my Mick Jagger T-shirt.
Cool.
I got surgery yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I was called because the Corona situation has stabilized enough to allow other important surgeries to occur. And I had hernia surgery. I don't have to go into the details, but I'm actually doing super good.
Great.
And I just need to be laying down, which I'm not right now, but I wanted to chime in. I am David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker and a teacher.
Great.
And a human rights activist, and the producer and co-producer of Space Command.
Hey.
I have many things to do with Space Command, one of which is the current coronavirus episode called Ripple Effect.
Yes.
So we have the radio played. It's in the last 2 seconds of being finished. And Ripple Effect will be finished shortly. We're going to have a big, Mark's going to tell you all about it.
Yeah.
We're going to have a convention. We're going to have 2 screenings and all sorts of panels and that sort of thing.
All online. All live stream, so that everyone can stay safe.
Sans masks.
Yeah.
And so I have, my background is that I made my first film when I was 10 years old. And then I did plays in high school and wanted to make films from that moment on as a 10-year-old. And so I worked in movie theaters in Oregon and saved money to move here in 1980. And I got to work with people right away as an intern with Robert Wise, who did West Side Story and The Sound of Music and Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which played at a cinema that I was the manager of.
Wow.
Only a year before that, which was 2 years before that, was very exciting for me to meet him and work with him. And so then I worked with New World Pictures with Roger Corman and the production designer Jim Cameron and his fiance at the time, Galen Hurd. So I did that low budget world for a little while. In fact, I've got those films right here. If you ever want to have some fun with 3 Roger Corman movies that I worked on, actually swung a hammer and built sets on those 3 movies. And that was fun. And one of them starred Klaus Kinski, which is very cool. And then, let's see, I started working in sound design. And I worked on Pulp Fiction and Speed and Total Recall and Predator 2 and a bunch of films like that. And I got back into independent films, started making my own films again. And now I've won 64 Film Festival Awards, including a newest opus. One of them is on YouTube right now, and it's called I Am the Flag, starring Jimmy Walden. Jimmy's a 95-year-old World War II vet. He helped liberate the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp with Patton's Third Army. And he's been speaking for years and years about patriotism and being a supporter of the U.S. And I made a film about him, and is now up to 450,000 views.
Wow.
Which is still kind of exciting and shocking for me to realize.
That's great.
So you'll log on to that and watch it. That'd be awesome. I am now turning it around because I wanted Jimmy and the veterans to have some money. And so I might be at the point now where I can get enough views to start doing that and generate a revenue stream. So I'm going to get people to return to the video and subscribe to the channel. So that's my next step. So I'll send an invitation out to everyone to do that if you want to. It'll help out the cause and just make this country, better. That's what I like talking about.
Cool.
Among many other things.
Yay.
And so I'm doing totally well. Thanks to all the supporters that have been out there helping me and talking with me and encouraging me. But I'm doing super well, and I'm going to be fine.
Okay. 3 cheers. Yay.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I don't think I've ever been first.
Yes.
Anyway.
It's very exciting. So, Adam, do we have any Space Command questions yet, or Mr. Sci-Fi questions yet?
Let me see. No questions per se. More time than money says the Twilight Zone mask on your wall behind you is freaky.
Well, it's I actually got that mask, another copy of that mask for my friend Frank Spotnitz, who created Man in the High Castle. He's a huge Twilight Zone fan, as are most showrunners, and so I thought, well, what do you give the man who has everything? And that seemed like the right thing to get. And as I was getting one for him, I thought, well, Jesus Christ, I really should have one of these things too, because my friend Doug Hayes directed that episode and was responsible with William Tuttle for the design of that amazing makeup. So, but yeah, it's terrific. It's fun to have written the Twilight Zone Companion and be the world's expert on the Twilight Zone. It's nice to do things like that when you're young, because then you don't have to do them when you're old, because they're a lot of work, writing a 1,000-page book. So, but great. So I guess, Paul, why don't you take your turn now?
Mark,
yeah,
I forgot.
Okay,
I'm going to sign up, but I have one more thing too.
Sure.
So that's a little addition for you. I was actually in the operating room with a robot.
Yes.
I had like a 7-foot-high robot that looked like James Cameron designed it, with 6 arms that all came to little points about that big. And and I thought of you, Mark.
That's great. No, absolutely. And there's a video I saw today. I'm going to send it to you because it's very relevant to what you were just talking about. So okay, cool. So
right.
So Paul, you're in the UK, so go for it.
Mark, I think James has got to leave early, so should we go to James?
Sure. Go for it.
Hi. Just really dropped in to say hello. I thought Dave Edison invited me back. I've been to the table a bunch of times.
Great.
And I am going to have to go in like 5 minutes, so I'll try and check in again in the future.
Cool.
My company, we specialize in post-production automation, and we are working on building custom Adobe panels that do services where you can click a button and it'll do things for you with your timeline. For example, we can similar to like an Avid sequence reporter, we can click a button and it'll produce a web page that includes all of the clips on your timeline and then allows you to operate that like a database. So we're actually we're developing that as a product right now.
Cool, that's great.
And a series of other things like that. We have built a system that allows an advertising company to deliver hundreds of promos a day to stations all over the country. And manage them from a single interface. It actually aggregates information from 12 different databases across the internet.
Wow.
And then, and so it allows you to do all sorts of magical things like transcoding and whatever, all with the click of a button. So when I say post-production automation, I mean literally that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We try to automate the things that people aren't good at, and the things that that people really hate doing. If something is rote and repetitive and redundant and just a waste of an editor's time, that's the kind of stuff that we want to automate completely or as much as possible. Yeah. We still try and avail ourselves of a large element of human management, human control over the situation.
Oh, great. Well,
So
well,
if
definitely.
anybody has any interest or
Yeah.
ideas or things you want to see built or anything like that,
Sure.
then reach out to me, please. It's exponentialtech.com.
I'd like a machine where it'd be like a box that you could have in your office, and you put a script in the top of it, and the finished film comes out the bottom of it. So if you can write that down, that's something I can really use, as Dave would certainly affirm. And but Dave, you and I should talk about this and see about the applications for what we're doing, because obviously anything that helps save you time and effort is something I'm very much in favor of. And,
Absolutely.
yeah, and
Okay.
look who just joined us. It's Elaine.
Yeah.
I put my link in the chat if anyone's looking for us. That's
Great.
how to find us.
Thank you. And but definitely, Dave, you understood what he said, which is more than I can say for myself. And so we'll talk and see how we might be able to utilize this. So
Yeah, James and I will be in touch. It's that's pretty
Yeah,
amazing, James.
One last thing before I go, I just
Sure.
wanted to say that, I'm not actively helping you on your project yet, but I am aware of it, and I'm making people aware of it out in the world.
thank you.
People that I know that, I'm just trying to get people to share the excitement of what you guys are doing as a group. And, I don't have the bandwidth right now to actively help you, but I am interested in seeing you succeed.
Great. Well, thank you so
Then
much,
it can
James.
no longer be our project. It will be your project too.
Yay.
I understand.
Well, thank you, James. 3 cheers.
So anyway, I have to
Yay.
bug out now, but nice to see you. I'll try and stay longer on the next meeting if I can.
That'll be great. Thanks so much. So,
See you later.
so Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, we've been getting a few now. First off, hi Elaine. A lot of people have been asking about where's Mrs.
Yes.
Cyprian.
Yes.
Rudy and Eve and Rudy.
Yes. And
Yes,
actually,
I assumed that's what it was.
Yes, but also there's a big announcement relating to Elaine and Space Command, because as you all know, she's been writing, directing, and producing with Space Command with me. But in addition, in Ripple Effect, the new episode we're doing during the pandemic, Elaine actually has an on-screen cameo. So that's very exciting.
I'm a little tiny head in the background.
Yes. So
Very nice.
not so tiny anymore. But yeah. So thank you, Dave Edison, for that.
Yes.
And it's good. So yes, you said there was a question, Adam.
Yes, Gregory Krug asks, who is the greatest president of all time, in your opinion?
The greatest president of all time. Is that-
I'm assuming of the United States.
Yeah. I like Lincoln. I like FDR. Except that he did put the Japanese people in the internment camps, the Japanese American people, including my friend George Takei. So that's a shame. But yeah, Lincoln, Roosevelt. That's
For me, those were the
big
two
ones. Yeah.
The two standouts. They made mistakes, but
Yeah.
they were the two standouts.
Yeah, and of course, in terms of movie presidents, obviously James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman. I mean, it was great because growing up, the only place you would ever see a black president of the United States was in science fiction movies. And so when Obama was elected, it was like, okay, now what's going to happen next is an asteroid is going to hit Earth, because I've seen that so many times. And though I was talking to someone today, and I was mentioning all the pandemic movies and books and all of this stuff, and they never, ever suggested that we would have a president like our current one during a major pandemic. So, but when they talk about releasing a vaccine without human trials, you just know that's going to lead to zombies. I mean, absolutely. So,
Well, when you have a president like our current one, that's why it becomes a major pandemic.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. But we won't talk politics. We have the rule at the table, no politics. But
that's all science fiction.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So Paul, it's your turn. Go for it. Oh, are you there, Paul? Can you unmute your mic? There
Sorry
we go.
about that.
That's fine. That's fine.
And by the way, thank you for replying to my email there.
Sure.
Hello, Elaine. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm Paul Dove. I'm an actor and an agent in the UK. I've done some big movies like Sherlock Holmes and the one with Daniel Radcliffe.
No.
So I've been doing quite a lot. At the moment, I'm putting ideas into the local TV companies' heads for new TV shows whilst the pandemic's on.
Great.
And I'm still working on a website. I'm trying to put a database in the website so it'll work properly. So hopefully that'll be done very, very quickly.
Great.
So, but I enjoy the meetings on a Thursday morning for me, Thursday night for you.
Well, that's great.
So what kind of luck are you having? What kind of luck are you having in reaching out to people during the pandemic in terms of your shows?
It's been quite good, actually. My work has been coming in for me, so it's not been too bad.
Great.
But at least I'm not going around wearing these silly coats.
Yes. So great. So anything you need, Paul? Anything we can do to be of help?
At the moment, I'm fine. As soon as I do, I shall ask for it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, can you imagine that this is the way it should be, because people all around the world can now come to the meeting.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, great seeing you.
And just hope David's all right, after his little operation.
Well, the fascinating thing is that when I was 21, I actually had hernia surgery, and it was quite involved, and it was performed, of course, by a doctor, and it was very painful and took many weeks to recover from. To now in 2020, many decades later, David has a robot perform the surgery, and he's up and running the next day. So it's it's remarkable, and so thank heavens for that. So
yeah, as I said to you once before, I was in hospital in Los Angeles, and it was the day that Trump got elected.
Oh God. Well, not cause and effect. Not cause and effect. So great, but great to have you here, Paul. So yay. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi query?
Yeah. First off, let's give some shout outs to Mike from St. Paul, Minnesota. And of course, to Rose Kirby is joining us again from Jolly Old England.
Great.
And let's move on to our question. Hayes494 asks, do you think there should be a future Star Trek character who is a practicing Catholic, similar to Robert Picardo's practicing Muslim character in Space Command?
In Space Command. It's fine. I mean, it's like my first priorities were, amongst my first priorities, I wanted to have a Muslim character who wasn't the quote-unquote Muslim character, simply because I thought Muslims were so badly used in American media. And I wanted someone who was just a regular guy, but he's a Muslim, and he's raising his son, and his wife died in an accident, and so forth. And then I also wanted to have other languages in Space Command. So we had Mira and Jelena, her daughter, speaking Serbo-Croatian. And we're also, in the new episode, Ripple Effect, we have a scene that's entirely in Spanish with Victor Manso and two other actors doing that one. And so, but I'm not averse at all to having a Catholic or Jewish characters. Of course, one of my favorite science fiction movies, despite the virus, the thing, is Independence Day. And that's because the main characters are black. One's black, one's Jewish, and neither of them end up dead. So it's like, so I thought that was great. And so definitely.
It's always good to remember all the different religions.
Yes.
As well as the ultra-conservative and the ultra-liberal, because if people are basically good at heart, there are so many different roads to the same destination.
Yes.
And I think it's really valuable in science fiction, in imaginative fiction, to say, hey, remember that. There are a lot of different roads, a lot of different specifics, and all roads offer different things. And as long as it's ultimately toward kindness, then it's equally weighted and equally valued.
And one thing I should say about Robert Picardo is he played a Muslim wonderfully. And also, if you see him in Hail Caesar, he plays a Jewish rabbi extremely well. And Bob is actually a Catholic, so it's very fun.
He
did
he did talk to his priest
to make sure it was okay to play a Muslim.
To play a Muslim and to go through the prayer.
And he was great, and he's still great. He's in Ripple Effect as well, and he's in the prequel United Planet as well. So there's going to be a lot of Space Command content coming out over the next few weeks and months.
He's such a good spirit.
Yeah. So great. Well, so shall we go to Connie? Hi, Connie. How are you doing?
How are things in Wales?
Yeah, unmute. There. Oh, no, we can't hear you yet.
Can you unmute?
She's trying. There we go.
There we go.
There.
Sorry.
Hi. Good to see you.
Hi. For those who don't know me, I am Connie McGuinness Griffiths. I am an actress, singer, writer, production arts student, special effects makeup artist. On a very different note, I was also in hospital the day that Trump got elected.
Yes.
Not in LA.
Yes.
I was having my daughter.
Wow. Well, something positive then.
Balanced. balanced
Yes,
it out for
yes,
me.
yes, yes, yes.
So one good thing happened that day.
Yes.
Mhm. Although they did have the coverage of it on repeat on the ward, and no one would change the channel, and so I was just getting progressively more angry throughout the day. To the point where my husband actually had to ask them to change the channel because he thought I might, blow. Everything's good with me. My mum had her first chemotherapy treatment yesterday.
Yeah.
And she's actually doing really well.
Good. That's wonderful.
Tired, but so far that seems to be the only side effect that she's experiencing, which is great. So I'm on nurse duty. I'm trying to do all of my work as well and watch the kids and do all of the things. But yeah, I'm doing really well. I actually had some work come through today.
Oh, cool.
I've been asked to sing with a South African. I've been asked by the South African Chamber of Commerce to take part in they're producing a rendition of the national anthem during this time to kind of promote togetherness and just kind of give the people something to enjoy during a very difficult time and raise money for people in need. So I've been asked to take part in that, which is extremely exciting.
That's great.
But yeah, just kind of plodding along and doing really well.
That's great. One good thing about children is if you sit them down and you ask for their assistance and for their ideas and say, this is what we're confronting. What can we all do? Do you have any ideas? How can we work together? They can really pitch in. It's when we try and protect them from it rather than enroll them that we get ourselves into trouble, by trying to be super strong. But they even at very young age, they enroll very easily in trying to save the day.
Right. And so you can have them do things like carrying loads of bricks, things like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're all about child labor in this house.
Yes, exactly. You come from the land of Dickens, so absolutely, the workhouse, all of that. So
exactly.
Yep. So anything you need, Connie? Anything we can do to be of help?
I'm okay at the moment, thank you. Just good vibes for my mum, please.
Yeah,
and,
please. Give her our best, please.
I will.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good to see you. Yay! 3 cheers. So, Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question.
Yeah. Moving back because I missed one from Wilhelm Sowers, who says, "Do you take suggestions for Space Command from the fans?"
Yes, to a certain degree. So, for instance, one person once asked, are there foreign languages in space like the languages from Earth? And that gave me the idea to use Serbo-Croatian and Spanish and so forth. But if it's story ideas, I have to be a little careful. Obviously, there's legal liabilities. And so for instance, I wouldn't accept an unsolicited Space Command script or anything like that. Now, that said, if one wants to do fan fiction or anything like that, fine. But I just want to make sure that I don't end up getting sued. That's the main thing. But yes, I mean, obviously, if people have thoughts, suggestions, there's, as long as it stays within the purview of fan interaction, then yes, that's fine.
Because we really want to be interact. The one thing about that we've always tried to do, and Mark in particular, because he's been to all of the conventions, is that the good thing about theater is you get feedback. And that's why you open out of town, and if you have something really lousy, you know about it and you can fix it. Whereas sometimes people get too shielded from actual critical comment in television, and they can really lose sight of what the audience, how intelligent the audience is, and what is really touching the audience and what isn't. And so that is one thing that I really like about the science fiction fans, is that they are interactive, and they will let you know, and usually in very articulate ways, how it's striking them, what seems to be missing. So that is appreciated.
Yeah.
Do you take Spaceman recommendations from your team?
Yes, I do, Dave. And
Just curious.
And yes, and we'll talk about that more later. So okay, so now I guess let me see. I know Irina is in New York. I don't know if you're online right now, Irina, but you could have your turn if you'd like, if you're listening in. Okay, if you can. I guess you're trying to unmute your mic, and it's not. There you go. Okay, go for it.
Hi, Marceline. How
Hi.
are you doing?
Hi, good.
Hi.
Well, just taking it easy, wondering, what's going to happen in the tri-state area. I just read an article that in LA, officially, you're still under lockdown through June, I think.
Yes, and but the trick about that is they don't say which year.
Actually, it's July.
July.
Wow.
Mazel tov. Yeah.
So it really makes me wonder what's going to happen here, and I'm so close to New York, so
yes.
It's like becoming really unsettling.
Well,
what's next?
Yeah.
Trying to do
but
things
meanwhile, I've been doing my thing. I've been editing my web series. For the first time, prepped. I completed 3 episodes, and I prepped them for Instagram, and I have to say it's a lot of work. Yep, all the frame adjustment because of the totally different aspect ratio, and luckily, I'm shooting my web series in 4K, but I'm editing it in HD, so I have all that additional room to play with. Because now with different mediums and different aspect ratios and different formats, it's all over the place. But it's a process, learning process, and. I'm kind of now considering, since 3 episodes are finished and I'm just prepping additional promotional materials, just maybe to start with 3 episodes, because the 4th one is a little bit tricky, and it might take me a little bit longer to complete. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out how to kind of start building the momentum and putting first, all the behind the scenes, and I did put together some behind the scenes footage from all 3 episodes. Came out pretty funny. Yeah, in one of the behind the scenes, I used one take where there were constantly interruptions sound-wise. And when we all know, when you shoot on location, that's like number 1 problem, challenge, the sound. So yeah, just kind of in the process of doing my own thing. And yeah, always, good to hear from you, all the ideas, and I keep an eye on your pretty much daily posts now on the YouTube.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a really great way also kind of to learn from you guys, what you're doing, what you're promoting, and building the momentum.
Well, it's interesting because one of the things I keep trying to do is figuring out how to, boost my numbers. And so sometimes I'll try something and see if that works. So for instance, when we posted the first hour of the pilot, it wasn't getting the numbers I wanted. It was getting maybe like 6,000, 10,000 views, something like that. So then I thought, okay, let's try this. And so I posted it under the heading, "The Greatest Star Trek Series You're Not Watching." And that's because there's Star Trek writers and Star Trek actors and so forth in it. And that in the last 2 weeks, we've just crossed 400,000, and we're heading toward 500,000 in just a little over 2 weeks. And so clearly, now, the trick is you don't want it to be clickbait. You don't want people to be pissed off. We're getting like 97% thumbs up. So clearly the people who are watching it are liking what they're seeing. But it was simply me coming up with a different title that cued into people's enthusiasms in a way that I was able to reach a vastly greater number of people. So that was one. So I try different things and I see what works. And also, again, I don't assume that things won't work. Like, for instance, if someone had said, well, can you raise $100,000 during a pandemic? Most people would have said no, but I've just done that. So, so it's like, so there are, I think we all have to recognize what new territory we're all in via, the pandemic, via the internet, via all of this. Everyone is learning what the rules are, and often the rules are very much in flux. And so, so I think the more one, and it's absolutely fair if someone has succeeded at something you want to do, you can send them an email via social media and you can say, hey, I'm trying to learn this. I'm not going to ask you to do anything. I just want to figure out what works and what doesn't. And that can be very instructive too. So, right now with Space Command, we're reaching greater numbers than many TV shows are reaching in terms of audience. I mean, all told, the Space Command, the first hour, given the various postings of the various versions we've done, it's been seen by over 1 million people, and that's just for starters, you know. So you know, onward and upward.
Yeah, it's actually encouraging because, you know, I've been literally watching all the different versions from the beginning. And it's fascinating that, you know, the interest is always there. You know, people are still want to see more and more and more.
Yes. And that's because we're providing quality, but also the big difference, and I've said this before, but the big difference between how you create television now and how we used to do it back, you know, years ago for the networks is back then your creative process was not, the audience was not privy to the details of your creative process. Now that's a key part of building fan engagement. And so the more transparent you are, the better. And so that's been very, fortunately I have the kind of personality as opposed to Elaine's personality. Elaine doesn't like to be in the limelight, but I don't mind it. And so because I'm able to do Mr. Sci-Fi and enjoy it, that's just an asset, you know. And you know, so that's lucky for me. But it's you know, but again, I think of myself as the product. Space Command is something that I'm doing, but it's not, how can I explain it? I was gonna say it's not the product, it is, but the primary product, the primary brand is Mark Zickrey. And so knowing that allows me to work in a very, very, very specific way that proves very beneficial. So I'm glad of that. So so anything else, Irina? Anything else you need?
Yeah, quick question.
Sure.
You know, I did hear back from Tom, so hopefully next week I will be on a table list.
Great.
You know, the table list. And I remember you mentioned that you have different email lists for LA Table because just such a large group.
Yeah.
There's one question I want to post. It's kind of related to production, but more so basically what I'm trying to figure out how to be able to come to LA whenever I need to. So I want to reach out to people in LA.
Yes.
I need a place to stay when they come to New York.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
To someone to partner up because, you know, I have a 2-bedroom apartment, like 15-20 minutes away from New York. So that's what I want to kind of try and put the message out there to people in LA and see if there is anyone interested in having that kind of exchange.
That's fun. Well, that's an industry-related request. And so the two emails that we have for the LA Table are industry-related, which is the major email, and then there's a life-related one that's kind of like, I'm looking to get rid of this cat that's driving me crazy or whatever. So and that has a smaller base of people who check in with that regularly. So you can sign up to both or either or none at all. But you know, and but that's how it works. So that is, as long as you phrase it so it's clear that, you know, hey, I'm in production and that my work brings me to LA, and I have this you know, place in New Jersey, and if anyone wants to work out some kind of ongoing trade that would be mutually beneficial, that would be terrific, you know.
That is already done.
Yeah,
people
that
who
should be
have places
fine.
in New York,
and
who travel a lot already, you know,
yes,
they say, well, I'll be gone from this time to this time.
Right.
Who'd be interested?
Mm-hmm.
So so that is done, especially, you know, the fact that people film all over, so there's a lot of swap outs.
Yes.
So that would not be untoward.
Yes. So yeah, so that should be fine. That should be fine. So anything else, Irina?
That's good. Thank
you. Yay! 3 cheers. So Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, we've got a bunch. Moving on to our next question is from Rose Kirby.
Hi, Rose.
Who asks, what time will the Space Command convention be starting? Is it basically what more information do we have on the Space Command convention?
The Space Command convention is going to be done on a Saturday. It'll probably be 3 or 4 weeks from now. We're going to start in the morning, probably around 10 a.m. by screening the first hour, the completed hour. Then we're going to debut Ripple Effect. And then the rest of the day will be panels, like 1-hour panels with our cast and crew staggered throughout the day till maybe about 5 or 6 p.m. And it'll be live stream. Yeah.
And if you need me to moderate any of those, I'd be happy to help.
Thank you, Adam. But it'll be live stream. Yeah. It'll be everyone in their own homes and so forth, like Zoom and so forth. We have to figure out the technology, so that's where you and I can talk about that. And
absolutely.
But this will be should be Will there be what?
Goodies for sale.
Will there be goodies? You mean popcorn? Oh, you mean Space Command
Yes.
stuff? Yeah, we'll arrange that people can buy their Space Command posters and T-shirts and
merchandising,
the colostomy bags, whatever, you know. And so yeah, absolutely. And so yes, but it's going to be really, really fun. And the Space Command, the episode that Elaine and I have written and directed just now, you know, that Dave is editing every day for long hours. It has all of our cast, including Armin Shimmerman and Christina Moses from A Million Little Things, and on and on. I mean, Francois Chow from The Expanse. And it's actually at feature length now. It's 90 minutes. It's runtime at this point. And
so far and counting.
It's really fun. It's really coming out great. And it's a very different kind of episode because we're shooting it during the pandemic. So everyone's shooting it at their own homes with their own cameras, both here and in the UK and in Canada. So so it's all across the US, people in Atlanta and upstate New York and here in Los Angeles. And it just keeps going. And we use, you know, our regular Space Command costumes and settings and so forth, but also I bought an outfit from the movie Aliens, one that was used in the show. You know, bits and pieces. You'll see things that you'll recognize from great previous productions. It's going to be very fun. So great.
Cool.
So Mark, and I guess we'll do Mark Sklauer from New York. Yeah, great. Go for it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I'm live. Mark Sklauer. That's pretty good. Not bad. Hey, I just want to say congratulations on your ever expanding process with Space Command. It's so awesome. Are you doing greens? Is everyone like shooting in front of green screen?
Not everyone. No, it's
how is the consistency in background?
Yeah, in some cases they're shooting at their own homes with realistic backgrounds. In some cases they're doing green screen. In some cases we have two scenes that we actually shot before the pandemic, one with Nichelle Nichols and the other with Angelique Scott and Nathaniel Freeman. And so those are just shot like you'd shoot anything. We have some VFX shots that we hadn't used yet in Space Command that we're utilizing here. It's the whole panoply. I don't know if you want to speak to this, Dave, at all, but we're using a lot of various tricks, and it's you know, it's fun.
Yeah, we're not bothering the VFX people, if at all possible, because they're working hard on episode 102.
The second hour. Yeah,
so we're cobbling.
Yeah,
I'm cobbling.
Yes.
Who's this we?
Yes, exactly.
We have one person up in Canada who shot herself in her living room and then shot her living room.
Well, with a camera.
With a camera.
Yeah.
And then somebody in Atlanta was shot on green screen and put into her living room.
Yes. So again, because obviously
so great.
Our first priority is that everyone be safe, but we're also trying extremely hard to have variety. So for instance, some scenes are monologues. Some scenes are conversations between two people. But again, it could be, you know, via green screen, or it can be like a Zoom call like this is. So we're trying for not to fall into the same old throughout. And some of the scenes are humorous, like the great one we did with David Bartlett and our dogs, and some which is going to be a keeper, I promise you. And then some are very, very serious. So there's tears and laughter.
Yes.
And credit where due, a couple of the scenes that were done in Atlanta, including the one that had the Saskatchewan scene integrated as well, were edited by Ethan McDowell, who plays Captain Kemmer.
Yeah.
And he gets credit in the end of the film because, you know, credit where credit is due.
He did a great job.
I did a little bit to integrate into the rest of the project, but it was his edit.
Yeah.
So
no, good for him. Yeah, this is very much a team effort because, again, the positive thing or the asset is that everyone's stuck at home. And so rather than seeing it just as a drag, if we see it as an artistic opportunity, then we can utilize it. And that was my idea.
Great.
Yeah. And this is, by the way, this is the script right here. I can send you the newest draft, Adam, so you can put it online. Our fans can actually download this script and read it in its entirety. And then this is the new script I just finished last night, which is a pilot for a series I'm co-creating with Rockney O'Bannon, who created Farscape and Alien Nation and Sequest and Defiance.
Is the Ripple Effects script available? I should take a look at that.
Yes, that might be a good idea, Dave. But back to you, Mark. Please go ahead.
Bravo. Well, hello everybody. This is my second LA meeting. I'm from New York City, Nueva York. Actually, I'm in New Jersey. I've been here Jesus, like 3 months at this point. I left for personal reasons in New York. Like 3 weeks before it really kicked in, but I guess I was ahead of the curve. And I'm here in a big house in the suburbs of New Jersey, on my way to LA in about a month. And my wife and I, we don't see going back to New York for a period of time. Our neighborhood in Lower East Side is completely like fucked. Excuse my French, but I heard some. My wife went there this week, and it was just really horrified, but not in a good way. Lower East Side back in the day when you had the punk era, that was pretty trashed. Now it just seems like apocalyptic. So we're like, well, we got to go somewhere, and when I go to LA, there's great prices on Airbnb, and we got a really cool place in Abbot-Kinney, block away from the beach, and so. Even if we're locked down, it's better to be locked down in LA than in New York. But I hear it's a lot better in LA.
They are opening
overall.
the beaches to activities.
Yes.
Not just sitting around, but for volleyball, things like that. They are opening the beaches
for certain activities.
For activities, and opening the parks for certain activities. So,
So there's things.
So unless there's a lot of bounce back with another perk in the disease, another peak in the disease.
Yes.
Right now they're trying to slowly open things up.
Yeah. So great. And so anything you need, Mark?
Well, that's good.
So anything you need?
Yeah. So basically, my background, real quick, is I've been an artist all my life in the fashion world, and initially music production. I was one of the founders of immersive theater back in the 90s and in the early 2000s. We combined ritual experiences, shamanic rituals, and electronic dance music club scenes. And I put my website up. You can see some of the stuff I've done. And in the last 10 years, been working on a documentary, but also wrote a couple of feature films, all based in shamanic, in pop culture and kind of like the ancient mythologies in a modern context. But over the last 2 years, I've been working on a script, and actually a show Bible for a TV show called The Edge, which is basically the story of the electronic dance music scene of the rave culture in New York City from the early 90s up until 2001. And it's going to be ultimately it's going to be a multi-generational story and cover the avant-garde underground from the beatnik era to the hippies and the punks and hip hop and basically the last 40, 50 years of New York City life. And so I wrote the pilot. I spoke about it last week, and I'm working with a friend of mine, and we're compiling a list of 100 people that we're going to get starting on Monday, start hitting with the script, everything from literary managers to showrunners, a couple of A-list stars. Like I'm going to offer, why not? I'm going to reach out to Brad Pitt. I see a role for him. And what the hell not? Your advice is like send it out to everyone.
Yeah.
But we're coming to a very solid list with it. And so yeah, I would say if anyone is directly connected with showrunners who might be appropriate for this kind of production, feel free to reach out to me in private, and as well as managers.
Cool. But, and also again, people are all at home, and so you can reach people that normally you couldn't. And a lot of actors have production companies as well. So often you don't have to reach the star. All you have to do is reach their development executive, and so that also makes it a simpler procedure. Sorry about that. But also again, thinking. Sorry, Elaine. Here, do you want some tea? No, it's a cruel joke.
Pretend, yes.
Yeah, but the also thinking strategically about how to win people over to your cause can be very, very helpful. So, for instance, right now Amazon is actively considering Space Command and Magic Time, another one of our projects, and my point person at Amazon is a huge fan of Star Trek Voyager and Robert Picardo. So I'm going to ask him if he'll moderate the panel that has Robert Picardo during the Space Command convention, the online convention. And so that will be something that will probably excite him significantally. So, so you can think of those things.
One of our biggest opportunities in the shutdown is research.
Yes.
Because if somebody sees something that's appropriate for my show, that still comes across for a lot of people as white noise. But if you say, I've researched it, and there's these 6 guys, you've researched it, here's the 6 guys that would be really good, I feel, for my show. Does anybody have access to one of these 6? It really helps. other people click in. They say, "Oh, I never would have thought of him." Or
Good idea.
Yeah, they don't understand your material the way you do. So even on the basis of theme, where you say, "Well, this is kind of different in form, but the theme is really like the stuff that this guy does," and so the more that we research the people we'd really love to work with who seem on the same beam, the easier it is for people to help us.
Yeah, it's just, we're looking at production companies like A24, the showrunner of The Get Down. So they're very specific, some very specific things, and a lot of research. So probably by next meeting, I might have a few names I could jot down here and see.
That would be great. That's very helpful because people know specific. But when they actually did a research project where people would say nobody ever helps me, and they trained them to be specific, and suddenly they got a lot of help. It was just a matter of a lack of specificity. So.
Right, I know that's a great point to keep in mind. Thank you for that.
Okay, sure.
Great.
Is there anything else?
So anything else? But thank you so much.
No, okay, great.
I'd like to be a member of. I have to reach out to David again, but he was supposed to connect me with
but
becoming a member of the.
Yes, because this is sort of, you've officially been at the table, so yes, you can just sign up.
Yeah, absolutely. So
okay.
Great. Well, 3 cheers, Mark.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, very good question from Wesley Davis, who asks, is there a Space Command wiki? Do we want to make one? I mean, I know we have a website. But...
There isn't a wiki so far, but if someone wanted to go to that labor, yes, that would be fine. The interesting thing about Space Command, this is something that I very much want a documentary made about the making of Space Command, and I very much want, I've been writing the Making of Space Command book, but it's slow at the moment because I'm so busy making Space Command.
And you're still making it, I was going to say.
But one thing that's very interesting is how the project has evolved, because it actually, if you read the early documents, some of the characters were different, some of the tone was different, some of the storylines are different. Visual designs are different. I mean, it's come a long way. And as we've started shooting it, because we've now shot 3 hours of the show, now effectively 4 hours of the show, 4.5 hours of the 13-hour season, we've learned who these people are, who the characters are, and that's given us great insight. But it's also meant that we've had to go back and change, because as soon as we finished our initial Kickstarter campaign, I sat down and I wrote the first 8 hours of the show, of the 12-hour season. What was the 12-hour season at that point? And now, a lot of that has to be rewritten because of what we've shot and what I know now. So, and that's also including, there's the United Planet, which is the prequel, which we're doing as an audio play and a graphic novel and an animatic. And that stars all of our major cast plus Neil deGrasse Tyson. So, who just sent his footage in, which was just great. I mean, the fun part is when you ask people and you don't know who's going to say yes, and most of the people I've approached for Space Command have said yes, and that's really exciting. So, but there's a lot of material in that forces a bad show is often where someone has a set idea, and as they start shooting it, they don't change it, so that as a result, that's where you get romances between actors who have no chemistry, things like that, because they have a rigid view of what the show is, and they're not willing to make changes based on what the ongoing show itself, what the footage is telling them. Whereas if you're present to what the footage is telling you, then you're constantly making changes as you see opportunity, and you see, oh, this character is really interesting, or this character is really come alive, or this character isn't working. Let's retool them. For instance, Jacob, it's Odin, the actor who plays Odin Sikander, who's Jacob Weddle. He, when we shot him initially in Space Command in our pilot, he was like, I don't know, 8 years old or something, 9 years old. And now, of course, he's going on 17. And so we have him in Ripple Effect as an older version of that same character. And I joke to him that, that in Great Solar War, we see an adult version of him, and he may be old enough for that by the time we get there. And but it's really fun. It's like this Space Command is like the science fiction version of Boyhood,
And actors do inform you. They get involved in the role. They get to know the character better than you, and they come up with wonderful stuff. It's foolish to not pay attention.
And I'm always interested in actors' own lives, because sometimes their background, you can integrate it into the show, obviously with their permission, but that can also be very, very helpful. And so no, it's really cool. So, but great. So yeah. Yep. So I guess that answers that.
Is there anybody else who's present who is east of the Mississippi? Anybody else east of the Mississippi?
So Sherry, yeah,
okay,
go
sure,
for it.
okay.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah, you just need to unmute if you can. There you go.
There we go.
Got it.
And actually, Mark, you know me as Elizabeth Crowens.
Hi.
Apparently, which is my pen name, but
Sure.
apparently I guess I need to sign in.
Yes.
And that's how Elizabeth Crowens.
Great.
As opposed to clicking on the link.
Yeah.
You can actually change your name. You can rename yourself under participants.
I think the Sherry Lane though is something to do with my system software.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Because I actually have done some Zoom stuff where Elizabeth Crowens showed up. So,
yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
Whatever.
Hi.
But yes, no, I'm in New York.
Cool.
And I was trying to establish myself by coastal.
Uh-huh.
LA and New York. And of course now I won't even leave my apartment. So I feel like I've been a prisoner in my apartment for the last 2 months.
Yes.
I was in LA at the beginning of March. I became a brand new grandmother for the first time.
Hey, congratulations.
And so I visited my son and his brand new daughter. And then I went to the Left Coast Crime Convention in San Diego and shut down about 12 hours in to the conference. We were all scrambling to get planes back, and then of course I went into quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yes.
And
Holy
I've
cow.
pretty much been in quarantine since then. So I have not left my apartment since March 14th.
Wow.
And I'm going a little nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hoping to get back out to LA. I hope it's safe by 1st of November.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah, I know. A lot of conventions that I was supposed to attend this year, both in because I write in 2 genres. I write in mystery, and I've got a Hollywood mystery series.
Cool.
And I also write in science fiction fantasy.
Great.
And then my conventions are canceled.
Yes.
This year, or they've tried to go virtual. And I don't know about you, Mark. Are you going to be doing the virtual Worldcon?
I don't know. You know, it's funny. I mean, I had the idea for the Space Command convention again because we're all cooped up.
Yeah.
I mean, I go sometimes to Worldcon and I like it when I've gone, but a virtual one, it's like such a strange thing. You know, it's like because what I'm basically using this time for is to create, is to make the material. I mean, I have a book that's overdue now that it's already sold. I have to write it, and I have the 6 pilots to write on with on the Showrunners Network and the entire season of Space Command. So for me, sitting at home and watching a computer screen of panels of other people talking is like, well, Jesus Christ, I have better things to do with my time. Not, you know, this accepted, of course, but you know, it's like, yeah. So, geez, I don't know. We'll see when we get there, you know. But yeah, I don't think I doubt very much if I would be kind of, you know, if I was on a panel, maybe I'd show up for that, but not if I'm just in the audience. It doesn't seem to really benefit, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I personally don't want to do Worldcon, but I'm kind of hoping World Fantasy might end up going digital.
Yeah.
It's smaller. It's probably a little more containable, but that's that's the first week in November, basically. It starts on Halloween, but it's in Salt Lake. And again, I just, you know, I'm so nervous about hopping on a plane these days.
Yeah. Well, for me, until they develop a vaccine that's effective, it's sort of like, you know, you're really risking a lot by particularly associating with large crowds of people you don't know from all over the world. You know, it's like that's how zombies end up being created. And you know, so but obviously Worldcon and World Fantasy Con are 2 of my favorite conventions when they're up and running, because you can actually meet people who are actively working in the genre, and you can expand your contacts, and you can learn how the business is changing and is working. I mean, you know, my whole thing right now is just making my artwork, my creative work, and getting it out to my audience, as large an audience as possible. And this technology allows us to do that. But you know, I have zero interest in auditioning for anything, for anyone, for any purpose, because I can go directly to my audience, and that's the direct direct creative act, you know. So, but I understand what you're saying, absolutely. So, is there anything you need?
Well, I am looking for a literary agent. I've got 3 completed novels in a mystery series, and I turned down 4 small press publishers and possibly a 5th.
Yes.
So I'm really trying to, I think this this book series can translate really well to be adapted to like television, Netflix, Amazon, and it's fair. The consensus I'm getting from most people is if you try to self-publish it, or if it's not distributed widely enough, it'll be very difficult to interest perhaps a showrunner or something for picking it up for television.
I mean, here's several things I would suggest, both in terms of getting representation and in terms of submitting. Get specific. So in other words, look at books that have done well. People in the acknowledgements page usually thank their agent and their editor, sometimes even their lawyer. So make the list of agents you want to target, because again, everyone's home, and so you can reach out to these people. They're gettable. And then in terms of showrunners, start making lists of who the showrunners are that you want to work with, because again, they're home and they're accessible. I mean, it's and you'd be surprised at if they like for instance, when my friend Mark Fergus came across the Expanse series of novels, he optioned them and he walked them into Alcon, and he got a deal, and they then walked it into Sci-Fi, and they had a show. And so the Expanse at that early point had not really taken off, and but now of course it has. And but so don't worry about your work not being as well known as George R.R. Martin or something. Just target who you want to kind of reach out to. That's what I would suggest.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, wait, 3 cheers. Yay. So Adam, is there another Space Command Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, our next question comes from More Time Than Money, who asks, have you considered incorporating modern day prophecy into the historical framework of the storyline for Space Command?
That's a tricky one, because it's like when you say modern day prophecy, I mean, as science fiction writers, we always extrapolate from both the past and the present to what we think would be a possible future. And so I'm always doing that. Everything is grist for the mill. And I'm always reading histories, books on history and books on science. Right now I'm reading H.G. Wells' Outline of History, which I'm actually enjoying very much. And I was surprised. I thought it'd be stuffy, but it's not. It's written very entertainingly. And I've read Herodotus, and I've been listening to Gibbons on rise and the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, or so that stuff informs me. And then of course I look at the news of the day, and that also informs me. But the trick is to not just regurgitate what's happening, because for instance, if with Ripple Effect, the first step with that was to figure out what a story would be that would be interesting, and I didn't want it to be specifically about the pandemic, because that would be too direct a line. But we wanted it to have something that would have a resonance for what we're all going through now. And so you always try and bring meaning and surprise to what you're doing in that way.
And the one thing that you have to be careful of in looking at prophecy or mythology is getting straitjacketed. And inexperienced writers will often try and straitjacket you into those, And so what you really want to look is at the underlying thrust of human endeavor and human interaction, and not get too tied into the details, because then your own experience, which can speak to you more loudly than anything else, we've seen people try and quash the most interesting stuff that they own, which is their own personal experience.
So that answers, I think, some of the question. So I guess is anyone else from the East Coast or that anywhere around there? No, I guess not. So why don't we start with Judith?
Judith,
hello, are you there? Why don't you turn yourself on?
Let's see your mug, Judith.
Unmute. And yay. So
can you unmute, Judith?
Can you unmute or no?
There we go.
There you go.
Hey,
go for it.
There we go. Hi, guys. Hi, Connie. I'm saying a prayer for your mom. Okay? Okay. Listen, this is Elder Judith. Anything you want to know about the corona, you can just ask Jared. He'll know. I've been busy. I thought you'd like that one.
Yes.
I thought you'd like that, Elaine. I need to talk. Thank you so much I'm going over my notes for Apocalyptic. It'll be done this weekend. And I'm sending it out. I got 2 agents that are interested because I got on the phone and started marketing. So we'll see. I did take a pitch class yesterday. And it was very interesting from, I forgot her name, Taylor. She's a producer. Was very interesting, and it gave me some insights about what's good in my story and about what's bad. So I'm changing some things. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. I was on the phone, so hold on. Okay. I'm halfway through Sebastian and Josie, and I have a new script that I've had for a while called Samba. It takes place in the animal. It's animation and takes place in the animal world. It's sort of a cross between Highway to Heaven and Fugitive. But it's very cute. It's about my dog, who is the best dog in the world. I wish I could find him. I want to film my demo. I don't know how to do that. I wrote a script for Tom and me, which is very sad and very angry, which I'll send to him tomorrow. What else? Oh, I remembered a new something that I'd had, which is a script. It's called Detective Klutz, which is about me, of course. It's funny. It's a horror comedy. I'm getting the microphone. I ordered it so I can work on my audio demos and my book demo, which I have as you have it. But I need to change a little bit. I need to update everything.
Judith, not to say there's any conflict of interest or story, but you should just be aware that Mad Magazine had a long-running feature called Captain Klutz. So just be aware.
All right. Well, I'll change the title. I'll change the title. But it's thank you. What else? I don't have the I'm trying to figure out how the hell to do my demo, my on-camera demo. I also want to write something that's really crazy, sort of Carol Burnett, really nutsy to put on it, because I'm good at that. That's about it. I'm just so busy. I haven't moved from my computer in a week. I've just been working. I've got between all the crap that's gone down, I've got a lot to catch up on, and I don't have that much time. I got to get moving. By the way, if Adam helps me, hopefully, I will have a Zoom birthday party on May 25th, which is my birthday.
That's great.
I'm not going to tell you which one, but I will have one all day. And if anybody's around, I'm going to have strawberry shortcake. We can stay 6 feet apart. I have a little balcony. So there you go.
That's great.
I guess I have to help now.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
I already said I would.
Okay. And that's it. I've just been so busy trying to get everything. What I do is I take a page from your book, and thank you for that, is I just schedule, 2 hours for this, 2 hours for that. You get a lot more done that way. And then I take an hour to rest and I get back on it.
That's great.
So Sebastian and Josie's coming along really was very cute. It's an animation. I originally wanted it as live action, but I had a long talk with Billy the other day. Billy's my cousin, by the way. He wrote Home Depot, and he wrote
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement. What did I say? Home Depot? God, I'm stupid. Home Improvement and The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. By the way, I'm Judith Smiley. I should say I'm Judith Smiley. I had my own recording studio in New York. for 20 years as one of the top voiceover ladies. Started working when I was 4. By the time I was 12, I had 3 radio shows and 2 television shows. I should only be working like that now. Then came to New York, studied with Sandy Meisner, did Broadway, did off-Broadway, did Broadway again. And now I'm trying to get back on track. And that's about it, really. I've just been working very hard to get back on track.
Well, in terms of putting together your tape, part of it would just select the scenes, and there's a lot of people, because of the awful thing that everybody has to self-tape. If you just put something out to the table, you'll get a lot of advice in terms of self-tape, what to watch out for, how to make it strong. And so the thing would be to self-tape a number of short scenes and then get an editor to put that together in a very condensed form.
Yeah. Dave! Okay, I will do that. I just want to get that script.
I heard you without the Zoom.
Okay, anyway, I will be sending out the invitation this week.
That'll be great. Well, thank you.
And like that, that's about it.
Great.
You'll be finished editing the Space Command, the radio show.
Someday.
Yeah. No, the radio show is complete now. It's completed, and we're doing one last piece because we have Neil deGrasse Tyson, but in the radio show we have him being interviewed by Anderson Cooper. And
I remember,
but we don't have Anderson Cooper, and so a friend of mine was senior editor of the Hollywood Reporter. He's British, and his name is Stephen Galloway, and he's going to be doing that role. And so we'll just tweak that. But other than that, it's done. It's done. So, and it came out great. I'm very, very pleased with it. So great. But 3 cheers.
I can't wait to hear it.
It's great. It's really great. 3 cheers, Judith. Yay.
Thank you.
So Adam and the Penguins, is there another question for Mr. Sci-Fi?
I think I was getting a little hot, so I decided to move to a colder climate.
Absolutely.
Our next question is from Mark Lungo.
Yes,
earlier
Mark.
we were talking about other languages in Space Command.
Yes.
So he asks, is there any chance of Esperanto being used in Space Command?
Well, I don't know. It's an interesting idea. It was sort of a created language that utilized a lot of different languages to make sort of what would be a universal language. Forrest Ackerman was a big proponent of that. And there's actually one movie that was shot in Esperanto that stars William Shatner. And I highly recommend it. It is an amazing, amazing film. It's absolutely insane. It was made by the people who did Outer Limits immediately after they did the original Outer Limits. And they thought, well, because it's in Esperanto, people all over the world will be able to enjoy it, not realizing that what it guaranteed was that almost no one would want to go see it. And so, but it's gorgeously shot, and it's... and
they fudged.
Well, yeah, the funny thing is they wanted to use a church at one point, and because the script was in Esperanto, and it was about devil worship and all these things, the writer wrote an entirely different script in English, a totally different plot, to get the priest to agree to let them use the church, because knowing that he would have no idea what they were saying in Esperanto. So that's pretty hilarious. But I highly recommend the film. It's really great.
It's a silly film.
Yeah. But that Esperanto could be fun. So let's see. I guess the next person is Jacob. I guess go for it, Jacob, if you want to unmute.
Sure. Hi, everybody.
Howdy.
So I'm waiting for things to just kind of clear up in LA so I can get there. So I'm hearing that there is or there isn't a quarantine right now if you fly in. What's
LA?
The latest?
Here in LA?
Yeah.
We're still under lockdown. They're starting to open up shops. They're starting to open up parks and beaches. You're always going to have
slowly.
You're always going to have to wear a mask. You're always going to have to have social distancing. But
are you a member of the Auto Club?
The Auto Club?
No.
Well, okay. They have these things called automobiles.
They would have.
They can give you travel.
I have
alerts.
An automobile.
Yes, well, that's good. But they have travel alerts and so forth. But certainly, you can. I'm sure you can go online and find out the latest, guidelines.
They're shifting daily.
Yeah.
So yeah, just go online.
Yeah, but I think if you were traveling like overland or something, I think there's certain states in the middle of the country where they'll basically haul you from your car and eat you. So it's like you want to be careful of that.
But there are people who are going out, or you can go out a little bit more.
Yes. Well, just to give you a little bit of an idea. So we can walk the dogs. We wear masks when we go out to do that.
Do the dogs have to wear a mask?
No, fortunately not. And but we worked out this morning at the nearby park. So I ran for half an hour and lifted weights and did other exercises for about an hour and a half beyond that. So 3 times a week we're working out at the park. When we're not running, we wear a mask, and throughout all of it I wear gloves. And but we can go to restaurants for takeout. We can go to like Target and places like that to buy groceries and so forth.
But there's
Trader
lines
Joe,
so that it doesn't get overly crowded.
Right.
You stand 6 feet apart.
But it's not a nightmare. It's very livable. You just have to have be careful and smart, and that's all. But it's but the weather here is terrific. I mean, it's every day is summer, and so that's very pleasant. And when we want to kind of blow off the cobwebs, Elaine and I will go for a drive, like a drive up to Ojai or up to Ventura. And,
nice.
And it's not that we're going to be, eating in restaurants or anything, but it's just the drive is so pretty. We'll drive up along the coast and just kind of get out a bit,
Just to look at something other than walls.
Yeah. And so it's, then that's very pleasant because you can even window shop. I mean, it's very funny because we were walking in Ojai, which is sort of an arts community, and in a closed, all the shops were closed, of course, but one of them had this necklace in the window, and it had the phone number of the proprietor. And so Elaine called her to find out what the price on the necklace was. Turned out the proprietor was in the store, so she unlocked it and sold the necklace to Elaine, and
cool,
out there on the sidewalk, and that was
in California.
Great.
There's a lot
great.
of curb, not a lot, but there's a reasonable number of curbside selling.
Yeah, and again, we were wearing masks, and though I was mentioning that my idea for masks would be, I think someone should market masks that look exactly like the bottom half of your face, so that no one will be able to know that you're wearing a mask. I thought that'd be very, very funny.
But you do see like tables in doorways, so they will, if you tell them what they want or you see it online, then they'll sell it to you in the doorway.
Yes.
And traffic isn't as bad.
No,
God, no. It's heaven. It's heaven.
Oh,
so
cool.
So great. So anything else? Anything you need?
No, I'm just working on my script. Almost done with it. Then it goes to the line producer to create a budget, and we move on.
That's great. Cheers! Yay! So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi Space Command kind of question?
Moving on to our next question, and I definitely got to say that traffic is like one of the good things that has come of this.
Yes.
Shelter in place.
Absolutely.
Ziggy asks, do you like Stargate, and would you be in favor of it coming back?
Stargate, I like the movie very much, particularly the director's cut. I've never had a chance to really get into the show because I think there's like 15,000 million episodes. But it was very funny because after Sliders, I was invited to write for the show, and I said, well, please send me information on the show so I can get current. And they sent me like a stack of synopses, like thicker than a phone book. And whoever they had assigned to do that had no idea how to write a synopsis or a series Bible or anything. It was impossible to. It was insanely detailed, but not in a way that you could access or gain any information. It was as though you were a super fan of the show and you were just writing what happened in the show, as though everyone reading it would know exactly what you were talking about. And so because they didn't have a series Bible, and that was back before you had online access to things that would actually inform you, and the series wasn't on home video at that point, I just called the showrunner. I said, look, I can't write for you because I can't get my arms around this show. And it's a shame because I would have liked to have. I mean, that would have been fun. And the other thing I turned down years ago that I regret is my friend Michael Reeves was story editing Batman the Animated Series, and he wanted me to write one. And I was just writing live action. I was out of animation at that point, and I said no. But in retrospect, I wish I had. That would have been fun. But in terms of bringing Stargate back, sure. I mean, I think as long as it's the right people knowing what the hell they're doing, and they don't put like mushroom drives or tardigrades or whatever in it, then we're okay. But let's see. So now I guess next is you, Susan, on our screen. So go for it, Susan. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. Yeah, I wanted to tell you, I'm doing something rather unique this week. I was writing a novel called The Minoan Connection.
Huh.
Do all of you know about Minoa?
Sure. Yeah.
It was a great civilization on Crete that was really high level, equal male female kind of thing. It was a great, and it got destroyed by Greeks and by a tsunami.
It happens.
But I found a way in my sci-fi novel to show how they come back.
Great.
And in the future, way in the future, on a space community and all that.
Great.
But I got so into this novel, I said, no, I want to write I like screenplays better. So I'm shifted now, screenplay. I was thinking write a novel and then get it out there and then have them want it to be a screenplay. But instead, no, I much prefer writing screenplay.
Cool. That's fun.
So I'm back to doing that. And I hope to have it in a few weeks or a few months. I don't know how long it's going to take me.
Yeah.
And what I'd really like on my biopic, historical biopic, which is a really important story. It needs to be told about. It's one of the best ever slave narratives written by a woman.
Yes.
And the greatest by a man was Frederick Douglass, and he's a character in my movie as well.
Oh, cool.
I just desperately need help in how to raise money for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything anybody can tell me, I would be open to.
Well, what kind of money are you looking for?
Well, we're thinking, I have a producer, and we're thinking it's going to be like a $5 million movie.
Yeah. I mean,
we can keep it way down. It's, not terribly expensive.
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, I really don't know what to advise, because the only way I've raised money is via crowdfunding and selling shares in Space Command. And because there's such a fervent fan base for science fiction, I was able to do that, particularly with my credits and the credits of my actors, and I was very fortunate to have come up in the genre and know a lot of actors who actually have cachet. But in terms of what you're doing, it's very, very tricky, because it's like you need one of two kinds of people. You either need people who make and raise financing for low budget features, who really, because most people who say they can do that are totally bogus, and you just waste your time and effort and often your money. But the real ones, can actually do that. They have the knack. They know the people. The other group, of course, would be actors who have cachet within the Black community, and again, but often trying to reach these people if they don't know you is very, very difficult. Whereas if you if it weren't a pandemic, I would again suggest, networking by going to conventions and conferences and so forth. But that's not a viable option now.
I would suggest social media to try and reach people who are either very socially conscious or who are people of color, and also if there's any way to go online. I mean, normally I would say talk to a research librarian, but there are there are a lot of foundations that give money to worthy causes, very specifically in terms of tolerance and that kind of thing. So you might see if there are any kind of foundations who would be offering just startup funds, which wouldn't be nearly enough. Usually it's not a lot of money, and it's a lot of writing. But if you can put that together, you might be able to at least get enough money to have some funds to create a clear picture of what your show is going to be. To some materials that would bring it off the page, and where you can really do a very good pitch with a sizzle reel, or like a little mini bio thing talking about what really happened, and that's what you're going to dramatize with just pictures out of books, the prints, the old photos, to say this is going to be the story. But anything that you can get the pages, it's really hard to get someone to read a script, but if you make it into a little, like 3 to 5 minute little mini drama that follows it and says this is what actually happened. But if you can get just enough money, even with crowdfunding, and just say you're just trying to create the promotional materials, that would be great. And if anybody wants to invest, the way you let them invest in it is you can't give them any money back from a sizzle reel. But if that is first money in investment in your feature, then you can say, well, first money in, first money out, and that they're investing in your feature, not in your sizzle reel. So that's another way to get a little bit of money. Whenever you do get money, it's usually a series of interconnected bits and pieces of money. like how much a particular state where you're shooting would give you back, all kinds of bits and pieces of bank loans, as well as, I mean, once you're getting up to $5 million, you're talking about pitch patching things together.
Yeah.
As well as studios that might be sympathetic, but you really want to develop some materials, however you can, that will convince people that it's going to be a slam bang movie other than reading the script.
Yes.
Eventually reading the script, but to get them to read the script.
Yes. I mean, again, and again, I think it's very important to build a sort of a kitchen cabinet of people who have done what you want to do. And the more that you can get advice from the people who have actually succeeded, because 90%, or if not higher, 95%, 99% of people fail. And so it's not useful to get their advice because they haven't succeeded. And, so that's, again, why I've spent decades making friends with showrunners and, people like that, and studying, Serling and Ray Bradbury and Guillermo del Toro and all of that, because I can learn from them. And, but I can't learn from people who just, I call it circling the field, where they're always pursuing the actors and the money, but never actually getting anywhere, because you need the money to get the actor, you need the actor to get the money, blah, blah, blah.
Dave, do you have any idea how, for the documentary that you edited about the ship,
the Sultana,
do you have any idea how they put that together in terms of
how they financed it?
Yeah.
Kickstarter.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go.
And that was about the sinking of the that was the sinking of the Sultana. So they did it with Kickstarter.
But of course, with that, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
A little fun and beyond that, but most of it was Kickstarter.
Sure, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with trying that. But again, you have to have access to fan base. So, like with the Sultana, I'm sure the people who were Civil War buffs were interested in putting that together, and people who were like, nautical buffs, shipwreck buffs. And
also,
so forth.
It was a hidden scandal.
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, and also having Sean Astin as an executive producer and narrator didn't hurt either.
Right. So so that's another thing. So again, and one thing you need to clarify with the project you have is, what are we going to learn? Why make this film when we've already made 12 Years a Slave, when we've already made the Harriet Tubman movie? Why make this? And you have to really be able to articulate that very, very clearly, because it's sort of like a lot of people, don't want to see another movie about slaves. So
it seems like an advantage that Harriet made money, the Harriet Tubman movie.
Yes, that's good.
So we've been using that logic. The producer I'm working with, he says, if we just at least have 15,000 to start with, so we can get some talent involved.
That's great. Yeah. So what you might want to do is do a Kickstarter campaign with a target of 15,000, and that's.
How do you do that? How do you go to Kickstarter and crowdfunding? How do you do that?
Oh, that's a big subject. The first way is go to Kickstarter and look at which campaigns have been successful and what they did. It's like emulate successful models. That's the first step. Secondly, I would start doing searches of, Black history fans, Civil War fans, anything where somebody would be invested in seeing this thing get made. And I would also reach out to African-American writers who are, novelists and so forth, or, Tannehill, whatever his name is, Coates, and so forth. Because again, even if you have one or two of them talk about, this is a book I love and I would love to see a film of this, you need, the more people who already have a fan base that you can enlist, the better. You can even go onto the Space Command site, and on the Kickstarter on Space Command, and see our campaigns and see exactly how we've done it. It's not that different from what you would need to do.
Like, I'm currently involved in a project about South Africa during the apartheid era, and when they told me about it, I said, okay, that's your first problem. There's just been a number of anti-apartheid films that were out that were successful and very good.
Right.
And so it can't be about that. That has to be in the background. It has to be about, it's about a family, but it has to be about the family, and it has to have a universal theme of simply fighting injustice, because if it's really sunk in apartheid, which we've just seen a series of films on. I thought that's a killer right there.
Yes.
So you say, how is this totally different? Not just how it's alike, but how it's totally different. What's the audience? We were once really thrown in the room when we were pitching, and they said, well, what's on the bus board? And we said, what? What's on the bus board?
Yeah.
And that's, what's going to be on the bus? What's going to make people say, oh, well, that's good. I'm going to have to tune into that. That used to be the job of the PR department. No more. It's your job.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything else?
Well, this one has to do more with the Me Too movement also, because this was a young woman who hid in a crawl space for 7 years rather than give in to this guy who wanted her.
Well, there you go.
Who thought he owned her.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a powerful story.
Right. Well, that sounds like a long movie if it's 7 years, but no, I'm joking. But yes.
I found ways to get her out of the crawl space from time to time with some action and stuff. There's thriller moments.
Well, that's great. But the point being, go for it. And just, I mean, my whole theory is try stuff. I mean, Kickstarter, I'd never raised money before Kickstarter. Now, I've raised over $1 million between my investors and my campaigns. And, it's actually more like $1.5 million by this point. And,
but it's a
go for it. Sure.
But it is a full-time job.
But it only lasts a month.
Yeah, no, so, but to set up for it, to set up something that would be, I mean, first study the site, but then you want to pre-alert any sites on the net that might be sympathetic, so by the time you push the button to say I'm starting this campaign, a whole bunch of people are going to be ready to jump in and give you money.
Yep.
So you search the net, you see who might be sympathetic, you start to beat the bushes, you start to do some little pre-publicity. So once you go on there, it's going to look like a great opportunity. It has to seem very important and very human. In a way, it's a very good time because we have such a racist president, and people are beginning to really respond against that.
Yeah.
So I think saying this is how these are people who, in the very beginning, understood the value of human to human contact.
Yeah. So, but I would really just get online and start checking out Kickstarter. It'll become very clear why some campaigns fail and why some campaigns succeed. It becomes very clear very quickly. And then just launch a campaign. I mean, sometimes you can launch a campaign as like a trial balloon to see what you're doing that works and what you're doing that doesn't, and then you can recalibrate for a second campaign and it can succeed. There's no problem with that. Kickstarter is very open to that. So I would suggest you do that. Between now and next week, you could start a campaign. It's not that hard to do. Really, it's not. So, but great. Anything else, Susan?
Yeah. No, that's very helpful. Thanks for all your advice.
3 cheers. Thanks. So, Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
I've moved to the other pole, as you can see.
Yes, very nice.
Get some nice lights.
Yeah.
Gregory Krug asks, very, very good question. Mark, what is your #1 piece of advice for an aspiring writer?
It depends on what kind of writing you want to do. If it's in the science fiction genre, go to science fiction conventions, meet the writers. And if it's in books, go to WorldCon, World Fantasy Con. If it's movies and TV, Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con is great. Just get out there, meet people. Any chance you have to meet your heroes, meet them, learn from them. Their job is not to open doors for you. Their job is not to get you an agent. Their job is to tell you what they did that worked for them. And then you need to have a writing regimen. Elaine and I, we're working at least 5 days a week, often more, and I'm writing ongoingly, always. And you have to write. Many writers don't write, and that's very problematical.
Well, one of the main pieces of advice is it's not about being a writer; it's about having something to say. Yeah. And so, if you're going to expect somebody to spend time with you, make sure that you have something of value to share, and some truth, something that you really want people to know.
Yeah.
And don't just be an imitator.
Right. No, figure out what you really care about, what you want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, but that's, I mean, the main thing is don't hang out with people who don't know what they're doing. Hang out with people who know what they're doing. Pretty simple. And obviously during the pandemic, we can't be physically in the presence of others, but certainly go online. There's master classes. There's a video master class that's something like $99 a year, and you can get these top writers, you know, teaching you on these video lessons. And I would urge you to do that. I mean, Neil Gaiman and so forth. I mean, it's incredibly cool and useful. And if you want a career in film and TV, I mean, there's so many things that have audio commentaries now. I mean, that's just invaluable. I mean, the Twilight Zone Blu-ray, I did 52 episode commentaries. I mean, that's time well spent, I would think. And you know, so yeah, that's what I would suggest. So now I guess we go to Dave Edison, the wonderful Dave Edison.
Yay!
Oh, hello. I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with this shot. I'm looking up here
yes.
at the Space Command project. I'm not ignoring anybody
no.
as much as I'd like to.
Weren't you clean shaven when you started editing this new episode?
Yes, we were, Adam.
We both were.
Although this beard is not long for the world. This has got to go. Make me feel more normal in this
yes.
crazy environment. Anyway, yes, Space Command ripple effect.
Yay!
Yes, it's kind of amazing with all the time we've spent on the first episode, which runs an hour. This thing is an hour and a half so far.
Yes.
And what has it taken, a month?
Less than that, Dave.
And granted, it's not as elaborate. We didn't have to go
different.
on set or pesky things like that. but it's actors sending in their scenes, and yeah, there's certain limitations, but
not bad.
Like my grandma used to say, "Fuck it."
Yeah. Yes.
You know, it's a pandemic episode.
Yes.
It's a selfie episode.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's all, you know, it's not your standard sci-fi with spaceships and blasters.
Yeah.
But if you're invested in these characters and in these performers, I think there are people who will find it very interesting and very different. And specifically, if they watch it now, if they watch it 5 years from now, when the pandemic is a distant memory,
right.
I don't know if it'll have the same impact. But
right. Well, that's why I'm going to have the premiere and the Space Command convention in the next few weeks, because again,
right.
you know, it had. I mean, very deliberately, it was designed to be something that would utilize what we can do now.
Sure.
And so it's not going to be the same as the hour. The first hour of Space Command has 900 visual effects shots, and we've taken 5 or 6 years to make it, to finish it, and it's not really even finished now. There's a lot of stuff I'd still like to do to it, but there, sanity
some
eventually.
things I'd like to do to it too.
Yeah. Yes, very different. But the point being, with this one, with Ripple Effect, the idea is, okay, people are going to know that it's rough around the edges. People are going to know that these actors are shooting their own scenes with their own cameras. There's going to be a variation in terms of visual quality between someone shooting on an iPhone 6 and someone shooting on a Red, or, whatever, And so, maybe
you should name this one Forgiveness.
But the fun part, that's part of the fun. I mean, it's like, we all watch the lovely thing is, like, when we watch the news or whatever, and then someone they put on a iPhone video that someone shot of a cop beating up a kid or whatever. It's like they don't think, oh, well, that doesn't look very good. It was shot on someone's phone. No, we accept now the vocabulary of how filmed entertainment or shot entertainment, or even not entertainment when it's a cop beating up a kid. But the point is that we accept a wide variety of formats and resolutions because of just what the medium now does. And so that's an asset that serves us artistically.
And even shot vertically or horizontal in some instances, it's fine. We have one actor who sent in a horizontal shot.
Yes.
And we wanted it. I'm sorry, vertical, and we wanted it horizontal. But
yes.
You know what? We made it work.
Yes, and we'll have a lot of very fun trivia questions for our fans, such as in Space Command Ripple Effect. I've been very public about my wanting Space Command to not have cursing in it, but as much as we tried in this episode, there's one character says shit, and the same character says asshole twice. Now, which one of us, Elaine or me, was the one responsible for that?
Couldn't even begin to imagine.
Yes, Miss Potty Mouth. Miss Potty Mouth.
It was Eve.
Yeah, really, really, really. But we both agree. Well, David Bartlett came up with the idea of doing a scene with the dogs, and it just is wonderful. It's just I love that, and you did a brilliant job editing it, Dave. You're the master of the keyboard. So,
and that scene runs less than a minute, so
yes.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, really, exactly. Go ahead.
The fact that you could squeeze that much performance out of the dogs was a credit to all of you there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so it's coming along. I have gotten way too little sleep, but we'll be done soon. And right now, I'm finally rendering out some of the VFX shots that our great guy Vince has sent to us, and I'm just checking out one. I got to tweak one of them a little bit, but so that's for episode 102.
Mm-hmm.
So we're moving forward.
That's great. Is there anything you need other than sleep and sanity and blah 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 blah?
Well, let's say I don't know if I'll get any of those, but no, we're moving forward. I'd like to know. I'd like to get the remaining shots that we need from our few actors who have not sent it in.
Yeah. Well, Christina Moses is going to send in her scene on Sunday.
Cool.
I've reached out to S.A. Morales for the father thing in the Spanish scene. We should be getting all the footage in hand by the end of the weekend.
Good. We'll talk shop sometime other than the Zoom.
Yes.
And other than that, I got to get it. Once this is together, we can ship it off for a little more color correction, and we can ship it to sound design and David Rakelin, whose music always enhances the project, and we will get it to the viewers. It's like I said, it's an hour and a half so far.
Yay.
So if we want to think of it as a story of human endurance, if you can sit through it, you have the endurance.
Yay! 3 cheers! Yay, Dave! So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi query?
Yes, we have a few questions from the Roadrunner, including when will the second episode, we were just talking about 102, be on YouTube?
Yes, it's interesting because originally we were going to release that July 4th. I don't think we're going to hit that deadline. We are moving through 102 is the second hour of the pilot, and we are moving through it. We've gotten a lot of the visual effects shots done. We still have color correction, sound design, music to add. I think it'll be sooner rather than later. It's certainly not going to be another 6 years. And so I think I think we're seeing the end of the light at the end of the tunnel on that one. And
it's a train.
One of the more problematic scenes regarding VFX is actually coming along faster than I thought it would.
Yes.
There's still a lot of things to go. AJ Wedding is designing an amazing escape sequence from series, and we're moving forward, but it's a very small team with very complex effects.
Yes, but it's great. It's exciting, and we're doing it. And so thanks for that.
He also wants to speak to you by voice. I guess he wants to call. He says, I have some comments and a good idea for a sci-fi show.
Huh. Well, okay. It's
I don't know. Some of the people in the Kickstarters who paid good money to have phone calls from you might be.
It's mainly
might not like that.
My time's at a premium right now, and I'm not doing other people's shows at this stage. So but if he wants to send me an email or something, I'll be happy to respond. Great. So okay, great. So let's see. I guess the next person is Alan Shinkman. If you want to unmute. We can't hear you yet.
Okay, can you there you are.
There we go. Okay, it worked.
Great.
Hi, good to see you guys again. Mark and Elaine, it's been way too long.
Great.
Very, very happy to see you again, and congratulations on Ripple Effect. I wish you all the very best with that.
Thank you.
During this past week, I tried something kind of unusual. A friend of mine asked me for some information on production design, and the response that I got immediately from this world were, amazing, you people are actually incredible. I was really impressed with all the information we got to help this young lady out, and now she's on her own with a lot of great advice. So thank you, Table, and everybody else.
That's great.
I'm here in Los Angeles and in an apartment like everybody else, living isolated. And I'm an engineer and a filmmaker. I'm a refugee from the space shuttle program. I was involved with training astronauts for many, many years in Houston. Now I just saw on the news they're going to get some astronauts up for the first time since the shuttle period, getting them up via SpaceX. So I wish them all the luck with that.
Yes.
I was heavily involved with training astronauts with the space shuttle program for a long time until the shuttle program shut down. I came from that program with ideas for movies, space shuttle movies and all that. And I've gotten into filmmaking roughly since then here in LA. I consider myself sort of actor, writer, producer, director, trying to be as creative as I possibly can with the different ideas I've had. I've taken your class, your super class, which was fantastic.
Thanks.
Both of you. I remember the incredible knowledge of these people. It just blows my mind, and it consistently is there. So, Mark and Elaine, you're worth your weight in gold.
Thank
Each
you.
of
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very definitely. And I listen to the people, the stories, and there's a lot of expertise here. I'm very impressed. I'm here to help out as much as I possibly can. And basically, I've got a lot of stories and things that I'm working on personally. Right now, everything's on hold because you can't go out there and do anything until this virus gets out of the way. So I've got all these ideas waiting to go. I'm just trying to be patient, and I'm out of patience. But what can I say? So we'll just do the best we can with it. That's all there is to it.
Do the research. I mean, find out who are doing space shows that have some sort of semblance of reality.
Yeah.
So that's.
Now's the time. Yeah, research now. Now's the time to really milk the internet. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's really one thing that's very clear to me when they put everyone in lockdown was I didn't want to just spend my time watching TV shows and pretending that I was doing something worth doing. I wanted to be creating something. I wanted to be active. I wanted to use this time, and it's been very fruitful. And so it's very important to be of use, So yeah.
Yes.
So anything else you need? Anything else you need, Alan?
No, I'm here to help you.
Great.
Basically.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yay! Three cheers.
Good to see you.
So Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question or Space Command question?
Yeah, we have a question from Jatham Red. I hope I said that right. What would you think about a TV series or book novel about a spacefaring universe in which there are many types of faster than light weapons, shields, and armor?
Well, that's fine. I mean, again, it's sort of like the idea. There are many, many, many science fiction ideas and fantasy ideas that are viable, but ultimately you have to cue into the characters. So learning how to write people that the reader or the audience can buy into, that they can feel. Our job is to create people who don't exist that the audience will care about, and so that's the main skill one has to learn, because it's like. That's why when people tell me their plots, I never really want to hear them, because it's like a plot is an irrelevancy. What I want to know is, I mean, I can't know if something can work until I actually see it. It's sort of like I need to care about the people, and whether that's Spock, Kirk, McCoy, or Sherlock Holmes, or Ripley and Alien, or whatever. It's one needs to learn one's craft, and so that's the main thing. That's the main thing I would say. So great. So I guess Thane, I guess you're next. Go for it, Thane. If you're Thane, are you there? Thane, are you there? Thane, it's your turn. Great. Go for it. Oh, why can't we hear you? We can't hear you. Huh. I wonder why we can't hear you. Is your mic on?
We can imagine what he's saying.
Is that now on?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Is that on now?
Yes.
Gotcha.
There's a little button here that somehow gets punched, even though it's not supposed to.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, here I am, another Thursday. I've been chipping away at several little projects. I got asked to write a chapter in a book about how my chapter is about how actors prepare for the various roles they're in, and it's been kind of fun, sort of thinking about going back through some of my notes from the various classes and books I've read and so on, and conjuring up some of the roles I either auditioned for or actually played along the way, and putting that down as something that somebody else might read and care about. I was just making a note reminding myself of your comment about we got to create people that people will care about, and that's I played a number of despicable people. An aging Nazi was my latest piece.
Great.
Or next to my latest piece. I played a doctor looking after Abe Lincoln the other day.
How'd that go?
But it went well. We wore our masks up until the moment they said rolling, and put them back on the second that they said cut.
Yeah, I actually meant how did it go for Lincoln?
I said, if you were his doctor, yeah.
How did it go for Lincoln?
Yeah.
We got him back. We got him back to his home by bribing him with green Jello.
Well, it sounds
very turned on by green Jello.
Yeah, I think so. You're really historically accurate. That's great.
So how do you go about playing characters that are despicable and still connect with the audience?
Because first of all, you can never judge as an actor. You can never judge the material, never judge the character. And recently, I played an aging Nazi sympathizer that crashes a Christmas party, and I could have made him a cartoon. I could have made him a buffoon. I could have made him an idiot, which is
you don't want to do
the place we all tend to go to.
No.
But right, and what I realized was, here is a guy that has stuck to his guns through thick and thin, and most people would not agree with his values, but the fact that he still has a belief and that he follows through with delivering that belief says something about his inner character, and that's what I tried to capitalize on. Is that he may be making a lot of people miserable with his beliefs, and he may have been involved in World War II. It's not clear how far back the script actually begins. But in this day and age of situation ethics, people go this way and then that way, and don't have a clear direction. I think that was what I found that made it possible for me to be this rather evil and vile person.
Good.
And we'll see how it goes when it comes togetder. This was a trailer, and they're looking for money.
Right.
And,
good for you. Things.
So I've been exploring.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, just good for you, because I always tell actors.
Go ahead.
I always tell actors, never play somebody that you cannot find a way in to take his side. You cannot be on your character's side. Don't do it. And fortunately, even with people where we radically disagree, we have certain things in common, such as we all want to matter. And sometimes we have to reformulate the world to suit our worldview. But people aren't, very few people are saying, I'm going to be evil. They're saying, this is the way the world works, even if it's distorted. And they're trying to stand behind the way they perceive the world works and make themselves mattering within the way they see that world. And sometimes things are really screwy, but it's all about wanting to be of some sort of value and taking a stand where you see yourself having some kind of courage. So however distorted or screwy we are, if we can't find a way inside that person's mind where they're self-justifying, then I strongly say, please don't play that character, because you're just going to come across as a bad actor.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But good for you.
I also played a serial killer, and in researching that, thinking about it, what I realized was this rather despicable guy admits to having killed several people, including some children along the way, and quite proud of it. but he's got a young punk that wants to follow in his footsteps. They're in jail together, and I really want to put this kid on a different path, and so I pretty much scare the bejesus out of him, and I become a teacher then to show him there's a different path. You don't have to follow down mine. In prep for that, I realized that when I was 14, I worked on a turkey farm, 7th, 8th grade, or 8th, 9th grade, I guess it was. And every Christmas and Thanksgiving, I had to kill 250 turkeys every morning before going to school.
Wow.
And at first, it's exciting, as a 14-year-old. And then after about 3 days or 4 days, it wasn't exciting anymore. And yet I had to stick with the job and begin to see how this despicable guy got to where he is, and maybe he's trying to redeem himself in some way by putting this guy on a different track. So that's been a fun exercise. I've been involved in a variety of classes. A couple of casting directors have been very generous with their time and had Zoom sessions for free, actually, and then a couple of classes with Jessica Johnson for my solo show, and there's one on Saturday on how to monetize your solo show, how to raise money and create some funding to pay for it. Last week was how to get into the college performance market, which turns out to be quite lucrative once you've got enough reputation and enough following to that the school will want to invite you there. And again, like a lot of things, every spring they have a conference of college bookers, people who book entertainment for college campuses. And it's not clear that that's going to happen this year because of the issues. But something planned for in the future. And no, I've never played Anthony Hopkins, but I have done a couple of scenes from Carol O'Connor's show, Modern Family. And of course, the serial killer had moments of reflection on Silence of the Lambs.
Cool. Well, that's great. Yay. 3 cheers. And so, Adam, is there another...
Moving on.
Yes.
Yeah. Moving on to our next question from Mark Lungo, who asks, who's doing the music for Space Command, and what did you look for in a composer when you were originally searching?
David Rakelin is doing the music, and actually he was one of the people who was who masterminded our first Kickstarter campaign, so that got the ball rolling. So he's a producer on the show as well as a composer. So he's doing our music, and it's he's working on Ripple Effect even as we speak. So so thanks for that, Adam. So and then Mark, and so I guess the next person is you, Mark Gushwitz. Go for it.
Hi. Okay, so for people who don't know, first of all, you got my name right, which is last name right, which nobody ever does. So yay for that.
Yes.
That's why I don't generally say it at the beginning of the meetings when we were at Marie Callender's.
Yes.
Just butcher it. So my name is Mark. For people who don't know me, I'm an editor. I've been relatively busy. About to finish a project that I thought I was going to finish earlier in the week, but has bled all the way to the end of this week. So this weekend we'll be finishing that. And then thanks to Dave Edison, I shouldn't jinx it because they haven't signed the contract yet, but I think I've signed on some new clients over at Yosemite National Park. So I'm going to be continuously working, which is good. Because so many people are not, although we've had a couple of people today say they've been pretty busy, so that's good. So thank you, Dave, for that. If he's paying attention, looks like his head's up here.
Yes.
It's only one of the places my head's up.
So, and then about 15 minutes before this meeting started, I finished my conversation with my graphics guy for my zombie film. Who's going to be doing a lot of blood effects and everything. We started talking prices, which were a little pricey for me. So now I have to go through and decide which shots are important and which ones are not, and which ones I might actually be able to do for myself. Because I have done some compositing work just when it comes to creating blood and zombie blood, which we're doing in a very different way. I don't know how to create that stuff. So some of the more just compositing, like we're going to put a rat on the floor of a room, I'm probably going to take that stuff on myself. Just to kind of save a little bit of money, because we had 9 shots originally we wanted done, and I think I'm going to be able to afford 6 of them. But some of them weren't 100% necessary. I kind of wanted them. So due to budget, we have to deal with that. But I think the important ones we're going to start working on Monday.
Are you listening, Mark? Yeah. I mean, with Mark with a C. You see how that works?
I see. That's
well.
funny.
Maybe he should, get online and start learning how to do some of the work. The way I'm having to do.
Yes, I should. That would.
But I've been pretty good at learning a lot of this stuff. My whole entire career, I've had to teach myself all the editing programs and a lot of stuff. So I actually kind of look forward to having to learn some of it, do some of it myself. So we'll see how that works out. And then later on in this week, well, I guess in the next couple of days, I'm going to have to call up Earl, who's present here today, who's going to be doing my music and my sound, to kind of discuss that in a little bit more detail. We had a really good talk last week, which was kind of exciting to kind of see what he had in his head on what he, where he thought we could go with the film. So that's kind of cool. And then on Monday, I'll be recording the last episode of Talking Apes that I will be on. Just because it took over a part of my life, but wasn't really moving the stuff in my career forward that I needed to move forward. So it was, as much as I was really enjoying doing it, it was kind of getting in the way of a lot of stuff. And so I had to come to the conclusion that I kind of maybe had to leave the podcast. And me and my co-host have talked, and I've hinted him on to some other people who could be co-hosts with him. And, hopefully I can guest on some of the important shows that would be interesting. But we'll be recording my last episode on Monday. We're going to be talking about one of the Rod Serling scripts for the TV series. He did 2 scripts. We talked about one on the last one. We're going to talk about this one on the next one. I got it sitting right here.
Wow, cool.
It's actually really good. I didn't like the first one very much, but I'm enjoying this one a lot.
Wow.
And then a podcast that I'm going to be doing with Nathan is moving forward. We're just trying to get a lot of the technical issues out of the way. And also, after talking to both Mark recently and this guy Stephen Sears, we've started to realize that the basis of the idea of the podcast is really just the beginning of where we can go with it. And matter of fact, after we talked to you, Mark, we talked on the phone for quite a while on, oh my God, this is a great idea we have, but look at all the directions we can go. And we saw a lot of that in the conversation that we had with you. And so that conversation was actually very, very helpful.
Good. I'm glad.
For us. And we're still searching for a title though for the podcast. So, but as soon as we get a lot of the technical aspects done, we're going to start recording those. And I'm looking forward to that because this is something that when Nathan came to me with the idea, because it was his idea, I started to realize that it was something that really reflected on something that Mark keeps talking about. Create a podcast where you can talk to the people who maybe through networking can help, you in your career goals and and can actually help you in that direction. And the Talking Apes wasn't doing that. But I think through this one, not only meeting people, but learning from them.
Yes.
While we talk to them, because that was something that with Steven Sears and you, when we talked last week, I was just learning a lot from what you were saying.
Well, thanks. And I have a title. I
feel that can be helpful.
Yeah, I have a possible title for you. You could call it Geniuses of Brilliance.
Okay.
I think it's a great title because people would check it out. They'd say, "What the hell is that thing?" You know,
right?
And it's
right.
And it's very funny, and people would be flattered that you're asking them to be guests, and it's both smart and stupid at the same time. So as are most geniuses, by the way. And so,
well, I'm gonna try and utilize this podcast in a way that you've talked about in the past, where you tell people they should do a podcast where it's not only meeting people, but just listening to their stories and what they have to say and learning from that as it applies to moving forward and what we really want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm really right now trying to only move forward in my career goals, which is what the short is about, and what this podcast can help me with. And for once in my career, I'm kind of going to try and be a little bit selfish, because I've helped so many people out, and now it's time to kind of look. I mean, I'm getting up there in age. I got to start looking at how do I move myself forward.
Yes.
A little bit faster.
And by the way, this is a conversation that you and I can have at some point at greater length, because what you can do when you're interviewing people is you can daisy chain it, where you basically, like, for instance, that's what I did with the Twilight Zone book. I'd met George Clayton Johnson, so I interviewed him, and then I asked who he knew that he thought I could interview, and then he connected me up with Jerry Soule and Buck Houghton, and so I ended up interviewing 30 people before I went to Carol Serling by doing that, because so as you interview more and more people, you can say, oh, well, is there someone you think I should reach out to? But also, if you make your list of who you actually would love to have a conversation with, you can then start showing that to your guests and say, hey, do you know any of these people? Because specificity is what works. And so someone might say, oh, well, yeah, I know this person or that person. I'll send them an email and you can follow up. And, because if you say to someone, well, who do you know and can I contact them? That's a little hard to answer. But if you have a list, somebody's going to know some of your people, so that would that'd be a good idea.
Well, that outside of the fact that I love talking movies with people, and when I meet people who know more than me, I love learning from them.
Yes.
The other aspect of this was something you kept saying this meeting after meeting is exactly what you just said right there. And that, to me, when Nathan brought to me this idea, I was kind of like, I could utilize the podcast in exactly that way.
Yes.
Because when I talk movies with people, I'm so passionate about it that people can feel that. I mean, I'm not like trying to say, hey, how great I am, because when it comes to anything other than movies, I'm an idiot. Movies is something that I truly love and that I truly learn from when I watch movies and when I talk to people. And I hope that, people will see that and, maybe they'll want to help me out. Maybe they don't. I don't ask for much. I put in just as much as I ask. And yeah, when Nathan came to me with this idea, the thought just kept ringing in my head how you would tell people over and over again, get a podcast, you'll meet these people.
Right.
Maybe you can impress these people. And so I listen, and this is something I listen to from you week after week. And I just decided when Nathan came to me, it's like, time to kind of step aside from the podcast that's not moving me forward.
Right.
And maybe step into one that can help me.
But also something very important. I've said this before too. Get very specific with what you want to accomplish in your career. Get very specific about what you want to learn. Because it's one thing to just gush about movies, and one can talk forever about, like, oh, I remember, wasn't it cool when the creature burst out of his chest and whatever. But that's not going to take you anywhere. Whereas if you're saying, okay, let's say I want to become a director. Well, then let's say you interview like Ridley Scott and you say, okay, there's this shot that looks very, very real, but of course none of this stuff is real. How did you make it look real? And you really get into the specifics. I mean, with Twilight Zone Companion, I was very clear that I had zero interest in becoming a nonfiction writer. I was not interested in doing books about film and TV. That I wanted to make film and TV. And so because I was clear on my objective, the questions I asked were very specific toward that goal. And I would, so with Matheson, Richard Matheson, or Doug Hayes, or whomever, I would be very specific in terms of how did you accomplish this, and what was your thought process, and where did you get this idea from, or and because I was approaching from that direction, they were extremely, first of all, impressed, because I was like 22 years old, but also it allowed me to learn what I needed to learn, and that was invaluable. So
that's why when I interview people, and I did this on the Talking Age thing, is I don't generally ask the questions that everybody asks.
Right.
I try to ask the questions that I want to know the answer to.
Yes.
Because that's the only way that I'm going to move forward. You had talked about Guillermo del Toro thinking he was a writer first.
Yes.
That to me is really interesting, because I think the reason I wrote the werewolf script, even though I don't want to write, I want to direct, is because I feel like directors can't direct if they can't tell a story.
Yes.
And so you saying that about Guillermo made me realize that just backs that knowledge to me that, if you want to direct, you better be able to tell a story.
Yes.
And so I learned from questions like that.
That's great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay.
So thank you. That's it. That's all I have to say.
So Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi Space Command kind of question?
I'm trying to, because I got knocked out of the chat and then couldn't get back to the original question. So I'm trying to find the latest question, which is, I just had it. Where is it? There was a question for Thane about why was your character proud of being a serial killer? The why in there.
Wow.
But let's see here. Here we go. A question from Yuil Adamas, who asks, was there any connection to the Sci-Fi show and psychedelics?
No, I've never heard of it. So I don't know what that is.
Neither have I.
No, there wasn't. So let's move on to, I guess Carol is not there right now.
Carol,
I think she stepped out of the room for a second. And are Mike and Jim there? These people have
Mike,
no. Well, no. So why don't we go to Robin and Jared, because they're actually on camera.
Hi. Hi, long time no see.
Yes,
You guys look so good.
Yeah,
We
it's
missed
good to see
so
you guys.
much.
I know. Can't believe.
So what's up?
Hi everyone. My name is Jared Lara. This is my mom.
Yay.
Right here.
Hi.
Let's see. We're veteran table members. So for Mark and Elaine, Judith, Dave, it's wonderful to see you guys. We miss you guys like crazy. Everyone else, we're looking forward to making some new friends. It's wonderful to see everyone. We hope everyone is staying safe.
Yeah.
Let's see. I am an actor, director, and as of yesterday, college graduate. So.
Yay! 3 cheers. That's exciting. Wow.
Yeah. So.
And you know what his first words were after?
What?
I'm ready to make a movie.
Yay! That's great. That's great. Congratulations.
True,
Jared, how old were you when you started at the table?
Oh gosh.
4 or 5.
Wow. That's amazing.
So he is the epitome of the table.
Yes.
This is your baby.
That's great. That's great. Well,
and he
congratulations.
absorbed it all.
Yes.
I remember when he would say, Mark said this and Elaine said this, and he lived by that.
Oh, great. Well, that's terrific. And
he still does.
So what's your next step? What do you need?
Right now, I desperately need a haircut.
Don't we all?
Yes. Well, Dave is leading the way.
But other than that, it's just getting back into the swing of things in terms of filmmaking and everything.
Great.
Let's see. Past couple years, I've done a lot of editing jobs or just
shooting. Robert Amico.
Great.
But as of right now, I'm writing a web series pilot. So more details on that to come.
Great.
But it's nice to see everyone. We miss you guys
so much.
Cool. That's great.
Well,
one thing I will say is now is a great time to shoot B-roll of Deserted City. Okay. So if any of the projects you intend are post-apocalyptic, now is the time to grab footage, because there's nobody around. I mean, I actually saw a director shooting a scene with 3 actors on Hollywood Boulevard, right by Grumman's Chinese. And it's like, because there was almost no one there. And because you can now shoot on an iPhone, people just assume you're a tourist. You know, you can actually do that stuff. And, you know, so it's a great moment of opportunity. But also, again, if you start to think about 1 and 2 character scenes and ways to make that work, you don't have to wait. Just because we're under lockdown, there's a lot that's possible now. And so just be mindful of that. Is there a kind of feature you want to make? Have you decided what feature you want to make?
Actually, I paid someone a while back to write a feature script for me.
Oh,
so
cool.
That's kind of still in the works. So I've had so much stuff on the back burner just while I finished my degree. So
yes. That's
it's gonna be fun getting back to everything.
I think this first thing that he's going to start with, he wrote with another friend of his from school, and Jared's part turned out really, really good. The other kids was too harsh, but he's going to go back and revisit that just to kind of get it going and get back in the groove of stuff, because he's been out of it. You know, he's sacrificed so much.
Yes. But it's great. But congratulations, you're doing great. And again, just moving forward in terms of projects to make, really, really get attuned to what excites you. You know, it's like it, because often I'm not even writing. How can I explain this? I often write what I want to see that doesn't exist. It's like The Twilight Zone Companion was the book I wanted to read to learn what I needed to learn, and no one was writing it, so I wrote it. You know, that
was very good.
Yeah, but even with Space Command and Sweet Haven, which is the project I'm creating with Rockney O'Bannon, it's like these are stories I want to see. These are roles I want to write. These are actors I want to work with. So you know, it's all coming from what enthuses me.
I'm very intelligent.
You know, so yeah.
I'm very versatile.
And I guess, is that Judith? Is Judith, you might want to close your mic off and.
Oh, am I on mute? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it says mute.
There now it's
Hi,
mute.
Judith.
Okay, great. So
now it says mute.
Nope, it's not. It's not muted. It's on. It's on.
So why is it? It says mute.
Well,
I'm doing mute.
There you go. Now it's muted. Now you're good. Okay. So Jared, is there anything else you need or anything else you wanted to run by anybody?
Like I said, more details to come on projects, but other than that, it's really great to see everyone, and hope everyone is staying safe.
Great.
We're trying to keep up with you guys, and we're really excited about all your progress and all that you guys are doing. It's fantastic. Congratulations to you guys.
Congratulations.
Cheers to you guys. Thank
See
you.
you soon.
Thank you.
And anybody that, whenever you offer your classes, I just want to say that I took Jared there to your classes and had a chance. He also had a chance to work with Elaine. These guys are wonderful. Fantastic.
Thanks so much.
Do it.
Well, thank you.
Don't waste any time. Just do it.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you, guys.
Great
we love
to see you guys. Thank you. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi Space Command kind of?
Yes, and congratulations, Jared. Actually, if you're missing the whole graduation walking ceremony thing, I did on my Instagram post a thing of me playing Pomp and Circumstance on my tuba. So
that's
you
great. Yeah, so you can reenact.
Just play that on loop and
that's
just
great.
Where is that?
Yeah, that's great.
On my YouTube, I'll put my YouTube link in the chat.
Okay, great, terrific.
But
Thank you.
in the meantime,
yes.
For Mark, we have a question. Well, a statement from Artist Simply, which is a channel on YouTube, says they would like to interview you and your cast. I believe they sent an email. They said they sent an email a few days ago.
Okay. We should maybe coordinate with you, Adam, and with Angelique and make that happen. Because it's hard for me to keep track of all the email because I'm just working so hard on Space Command and other projects, you know. So, but I'm happy to do that, of course. And yeah, so that's great. Now, I guess Carol Field, you're back on camera, so go for it. So just unmute yourself. Let's see. There you go.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I was thinking, what can I offer my friends here? So I thought can offer friendship and support at any time through this odd time. And if you, sorry, this is going to sound really audacious, but if anybody needs a really fast study actress, just call me because I could get it really fast for you. So I know it sounds a little cocksure, but sorry. If I can give you that. And for sure, my friendship from my heart, for sure.
Oh, great.
I read an interesting story in the New York Times that blew me away. That all these people quarantining in New York are really encountering their ghosts that they thought they had. Now, I love this, and I'm looking around the house, but I don't see any. But I think it's really cool. It's really cool. So if you see any, please let me know, because I don't know why. I'm really interested in that. So I have a question. When one does an animatic, what do they do it on? What is the format? What do they do it on? Or how's it shot?
How is an animatic shot?
Shot, yes.
Dave, are you still there? No, I guess.
I can answer this. An animatic's not shot. Animatics are drawn.
Yes.
Animatic is for animation. So what they do is there's all sorts of different programs like Toon Boom. You can do it in Premiere. You can do it in any editing program. And and basically you get a bunch of drawings. I just did some with storyboards. Somebody give me the storyboards, and it's just basically a black and white kind of cartoon of what the animation is going to be. Some of them are very generic. Some of them are a little bit more detailed, but they're drawings. They don't shoot them.
Done some in color as well.
Yeah, some are in color.
Yeah.
I have a friend who works on Scooby-Doo, and they're all black and white hand drawings. Some of them are really detailed, and some of them are the most basic line arts.
Yeah.
Because it's just basically a basic little go for the animators to go off of when they're drawing them. And they also, like Pixar will use them to build their whole entire movie before they drop,
What about animatics that are voiced?
Yeah, that's just regular voiceover. It's just like any other regular voiceover work.
Just a voiceover, and then somehow you just pair the animatic with it.
Yes.
Because I'm involved in something, and that's what they're talking about. It's like technologically, thank you for being way over my head. I don't have the pleasure talking about it. But
there's usually no lip sync in a situation like that. You just have the character.
And then somehow, how do you pick? I don't know. It's their job, I guess.
And it's often a scratch track. It's not the final voices. So it's just for timing and testing and saving money in the long run.
And kind of a quasi sizzle reel in a way.
It's normally not shorter. I mean, it's the length of the scene or the length of the project, but it could be a short version, as a sizzle reel is.
It allows it allows the people who do the actual animation, and also people as they're writing it, and the directors and all that, to time the scenes before they have to go do these really detailed drawings. So they'll need actors to do the voiceover for them in order to.
Good idea. Good idea.
Great.
Okay.
Well, Dave,
all right. That's my,
Dave's been doing it for us because we have a comic being made of the
prequel. The Space Command prequel.
And so we have page by page, and Dave is doing, we have the voices.
Right.
Because we had the radio show. So he's tying the radio show voices to the comic book.
Which was always the idea.
Which was the idea.
And making an animatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, because I wanted to do the prequel, but it starts 30 years before our pilot begins. And so I wanted to use the same actors, particularly Mike Harney, but I couldn't, without millions of dollars, I couldn't de-age him like they did in The Irishman, And so I thought, well, okay, we can do an audio play and we can do a graphic novel, and that's a way to accomplish that feat. And so that's what we did. And it's working out great. Dave's doing a great job. So anything else, Carol? Anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yay! Free cheers. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have another question from Yul Adamus, who asks, how do you plan to evolve the universe of Space Command?
Cool. Yeah, I mean, right now it covers about 180 years in the life of several families. So it starts 30 years from now, then goes to 60 years from now, and we take these leaps from generation to generation and intercut between the generations. But, in the novel, Maya Bonhoeff's just written the first novel. As I said, I've written the graphic novel of the prequel and the audio play. It just expands as I see possibility. and the first few episodes take place in our solar system, and then it jumps out to the stars. And so it's kind of like whatever seems cool to me and something I want to talk about and something that it hasn't been said as far as I know, or I try for originality, and Elaine, is my sounding board, and then we'll write stuff together like Ripple Effect, the new episode we wrote together. I came up with the initial idea, but then Elaine came up with the the Angle of Attack, which was Spoon River Anthology, which was a play and a very famous novel that was about a small town, and it consisted of monologues by all the different characters, and you start to see the interrelationships. And so that was something we started doing in Ripple Effect that gave us a way to do it, because we knew we couldn't do fight scenes or big action set pieces. It wasn't possible given the pandemic. And so, so that's how it works. Great. So I guess Mike.
Great.
Finally, Mike. Hi,
Mike. Go for it, Mike.
Mike and Jim, yay!
Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. Go for it.
Oh, great. Hello, everybody. Haven't been here for a while. Been kind of busy. Jim says hi.
Great.
Happy birthday to Jim.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
He really appreciated all of those
that was great.
birthday wishes. He really made his day.
Cool.
He almost cried. He's not a crying guy, so he really liked that. That was nice of everybody.
Thanks for reminding us.
Oh, hey. Everything's going well. Don't need anything right now because we can't do anything, right?
Right.
So instead of just sitting around moping, I decided to start writing again.
Oh, cool.
Writing novellas. Elaine kind of helped me on one of them. She gave me a really nice idea on how to wrap the thing up, so it's going to work really well. Other than that, just waiting for the green light. Go out and start shooting some stuff. I had a really ambitious year plan, but with this whole thing, I'll be lucky if I get one of my short films shot. There is one film I want to do. It's I call it You'll Be Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically the story of an ex-cop who helps a transgender woman regain her self-respect.
Oh, that's great.
Short, 15-minute short film. It's really good. I've got it cast already.
Wow,
so,
that's great.
So as soon as I'm able.
Wow.
I've got half the budget saved already just for my own. And now I got to get about $5,000 more, and I'll be all set and ready to go.
That's great.
So
Well, see,
I guess you could do a $5,000 Kickstarter, maybe.
Absolutely. Because again, the trick with Kickstarter is you think, who would want this to exist in the world? And transgender people are being murdered. Transgender people are being so badly treated across the country and around the world that this, and particularly, but this is also where the fact that you can stress that you're an ex-cop, you work in Vice and so forth, Ramparts Division, all of that. The fact that you're the director of it and that it has a transgender actress in it. These are all positive things. And so I think raising $5,000 would not be hard at all. Not at all.
I thought about maybe contacting the Gay and Lesbian Center. I'm not sure if that would work.
They probably can't actively advocate or sponsor something that way. They probably have to kind of stay above the fray, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you just got your actress and yourself talking about the project, and maybe if what's her name, the agent, is involved in it at all, she could talk about how important it is to have positive transgender roles. And I think absolutely, I would. I think that shouldn't be hard at all. I would urge you to do it.
Yeah, and it is based on a story that really happened when I was working in Vice.
Well, that's extremely promotable. Extremely promotable. The one thing you can do is you can get press coverage. So, for instance, if you reached out to the gay press, they would want to cover this, or the transgender press.
I hadn't actually thought about that.
Yeah, and I think you could get a lot of attention, or even just the I mean, because with publicity, the way it works is it's always about what's the hook, and the hook is essentially like a headline that gets someone to read the article, and then the call to action. That's how it works. So the hook is former cop turned director makes autobiographical transgender piece, whatever, however you'd phrase it, and then the call to actions go to my Kickstarter.
Well, it's not autobiographical.
No, but what I mean is, but the point is,
yet it's not.
No, but the point is, it's based on your experiences.
Yes,
that's what
right,
I mean.
that's right.
And so the call to action is go on my Kickstarter campaign and throw some money down. So this is very, very clear, very clear. So
okay,
it
so
shouldn't be hard.
that's a very good idea, Jeff. So it's just going to take some marketing.
Great, cool.
Yeah, it's all written, it's all ready to go.
Great.
I just got to wait for the green light from I guess Garcetti.
Cool, yeah.
And then we can go. It's I'm gonna have to do some outside shots.
Great.
On this one.
That sounds great.
I think it's my most ambitious project yet.
Cool.
It really is.
That's great.
And it's just I'm really looking forward to finishing it once to get it started.
Great.
Other than that, I'd offer people all the stuff that I usually do, but no one can use any of it right now anyway. So.
Yeah.
But as soon as we get the green light, I guess everybody will hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. Elaine, you're a sweetheart.
Right.
I really, Elaine is it's amazing. Her and I, we come from different perspectives, so to speak, but she'll listen. I can call her up anytime, talk to her, and
that's the dogs. Come on.
And it doesn't matter. She's willing to help, and I really, really appreciate that, Elaine.
Thanks, Mike.
Anyway, so if anybody needs help, they can always contact me. I can always give some advice over the phone.
Great. And so if you're writing a cop scene and it's starting to seem a little ridiculous, you can run it by Mike.
Yeah. I'll give you the real scoop.
Right.
And I was gonna say, a cop beating up a kid can be entertaining depending what the kid did wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to say one thing, Mike, about what you were saying a moment ago. The table's been running for 27 years, and the whole idea of the table was to invite people with a good heart, with a collaborative spirit, to come and help each other. And so it's the broader the political spectrum, the broader the racial spectrum, everything. As you were mentioning, transgender, we have now a number of transgender table members, and it's like that was always the design and the plan, because I love living in a world full of different kinds of people, and I don't need everyone to agree with me, and I don't need everyone to be like me, and so that allows my life to be so much richer. And so I'm very glad that you're part of the table, you and Jim, and you wouldn't know Jim if not for the table, and now you guys are so,
that's right.
Are such wonderful,
he's like the dad I don't have.
Which is great.
Which is great. Really.
Yes, he's terrific. So great. So well, thanks a lot, Mike. It's great to see
you.
All
right, guys.
Yay. So do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have another question from Mark Lungo, who asks, who is your cinematographer and what kind of look do you want for Space Command?
Our cinematographer is Massimiliano Trevis, who's an Italian guy, and he worked on a movie called The Red Violin and many other TV shows and movies, and he's great. And I want the look of Space Command to be where you can see what's happening on the screen. So visible is seriously. I want it to look as good, as detailed, as beautiful as possible. I want it to be, we're in a constant process of refining and making it stronger and better. Masi is actually advising some of our actors on how to shoot their own scenes, because although we can't have a DP on set, quote unquote, we can have a DP in an advisory capacity, and that's very helpful. That's very helpful.
And when Masi hasn't been able to make it because of other obligations or engagements, Kyle Wright has filled in admirably.
Yes. And even David Bartlett has served as our DP on some of our shoots, like the Angelique Scott, Nathaniel Freeman shoot. It was David Bartlett lighting it. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. So I guess now let me see who's here. I guess we'll do Michelle. We can do you, and then we'll do Earl. So and then onward, Karen, etc. So go for it, Michelle. Oh, you need to unmute.
I just got here.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi.
should we do Earl first then? Or?
I thought you were waving because you wanted your turn.
I have got my brains together.
Okay,
here.
well, we'll do Earl. Earl, go for it. Oh, we can't hear you, Earl.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
So my name is Earl F. Smith. I'm a composer, sound designer, sound editor.
Great.
I guess it's been a while now that I've been a table member. I still feel like I'm new. Anyway, I've been staying busy teaching my private music students over via Zoom, and I have 3 short films. One which is Mark's, where I'm doing sound design and now composing.
Yeah. Mark Gushowitz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I saw the first cut, and I had a lot of ideas, and we had a very good conversation about the film. I wanted that whole Sandra Oh thing. That ended up being a fluke. So what appears to be, some people decided they wanted to be Sandra Oh and try to take advantage of people.
Wow.
So created a fake Facebook account. And it seems to be her people found out about it and they stepped in.
Good.
So I'm good, just showing up, saying hi to everybody.
Okay.
And yeah.
Great. Well, good to see you.
My studio, my teaching studio is actually in El Dorado County. Which is one of those counties that's on full-on stage 2 opening.
Wow.
So that's going to be quite interesting.
Yes.
But yeah.
We endure. So great to see you, Earl. 3 cheers.
See you too.
Yay.
Thank you. Yay.
So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi or Space Command question?
There was an earlier question that I had remembered.
Good.
I can't remember who asked it, but it was a really, really good one. Which is for Space Command, is the timeline, does it fit in with other sci-fi shows, or is it in a separate timeline?
It's very much in its own universe. I mean, I'll have little nods to other TV shows and movies. So for instance, the characters are named after 1950 science fiction writers in many cases. I'm buying a hatch that was used in Prometheus. I just bought a tunic from Starship Troopers, a dress uniform tunic. So and some things from Space Patrol, the TV show of the 50s. So we'll see certain things where you go, oh, I know what that thing is. Just bought the salvage suit that was used in the beginning of Aliens, and Ethan McDowell wears it in Ripple Effect. So, but it's not like we're in the Blade Runner universe or the Star Trek or Star Wars universes, because the whole idea is that we own Space Command. No studio or network is going to step in and say, hey, this is we own this thing and you're done. So so that's very conscious, very deliberate. So I guess let's see, Karen, do you want to go? Go for it. If you just want to there you go.
Yeah,
Great.
There we go. Hi guys. Hi Mark.
Hi.
Elaine, wherever you are. Adam, everybody. My name is Karen McKenna. I'm coming to you from here in beautiful downtown Sherman Oaks, California. I have a small production company, McKenna Wolf Media, and we've been just trying to keep busy like everyone else, and using your advice, Mark, staying in contact with lots of people. So I'm exhausted from being on the phone all day long, but it's been really fun and quite useful. One of the things that I wanted to throw out there, I was chatting on chat with Mark Sklauer earlier. One of the things our company is working on is a documentary about life in the Lower East Side of New York in the 1970s and 80s, specifically the punk music culture, but also other parts of the art scene down there. And anyone who lives on the Lower East Side or has lived there, who was involved in that scene, who especially if you have stories, which so many people do. So many people, when you scratch the surface, have a story about their time at CBGB's, especially if you have pictures that you'd like to, share. I would just so love to hear from anyone who has any information about that time. So throwing that out there just as
no pictures, but I was only at CBGB's once And aside from the volume, all I can remember is I really should be wearing flea collars on my ankles.
Oh yes, yeah. No, yep. That's. I remember coming back from CBGBs with lots of bikes on my legs. Yes,
Wow.
Indeed.
Wow. Yeah.
It's funny. Like you've been to CBGB once. What about you, Mark? Have you ever been to CBGBs?
No, I haven't. I do know someone who was part of the London punk scene extensively. And interestingly enough, she was very beautiful, and she was using the punk aesthetic to have come up with some great looks for herself back then. And so there was an artist, a female artist, who was drawing her as her primary model. And that artist recently had a retrospective at one of the major museums. And I think it was in New York actually. And so my friend actually saw a building-sized poster of herself from back then. Of course, didn't get any money for that at all. But she's immortalized, so that's pretty interesting. But yeah, she told me about the scene, the punk scene in London, which was very, very interesting. But that's
any thoughts on the feature CBGBs with Alan Ruckman? What's it called, CBGB?
I have thoughts. We could talk privately.
Okay. But definitely, Karen, putting out an email to the table, you'll get a lot of response.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. That would be great. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, anything else you need?
No, that's it. That's it for now. I mean,
Great.
like I said, I've been following your advice, and it's been very, very fruitful. So it's been great to know you guys and to be a part of this whole wonderful situation going on here.
Great. Well, thanks a lot. Yay. So, Adam, do we have any more Space Commander, Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
Yes, we have a few more questions, mostly from Yul Adamas. This next question is, again, talking about the timelines. Will the timelines be connected by time travel in any way, or is it going to be more like This Is Us, where it just skips between?
Yeah, right. For now, we don't have time travel as such because, again, it can get very squirrely very quickly with paradoxes and all this nonsense. So we will have characters who I call viewpoint characters. So, for instance, Doug Jones is a synthetic human, so he'll be there for the entire timeline. And Mira Furlan is a human who's genetically altered, and she'll be there for the entire timeline. And we'll see certain characters various ways that they'll be appearing hither and yon. So that's very deliberate. Bob Picardo and Bill Mumy, so forth. But but again, I haven't done time travel yet. But I will. But Bill Mumy's characters will be cryogenically frozen, and so we'll thaw him at one point. So that'll be interesting. So great. So let's see. I guess Beta, and then we'll have you, Michelle. So Beta, are you there? Beta, are you around? Beta, you want to take your turn? You just have to unmute.
Hello, it's me.
Hi.
I'm sorry. I got a call, and so I was like, I had to pick up.
That's okay.
So I'm Beta. I am David Bartlett's assistant.
Great.
I am currently working with him on a lot of stuff, Space Command obviously related.
Great.
And it's fun and it's great. I've been doing this now literally since the pandemic started. So I've been here since everything went downhill. And it's been keeping me busy, which is great. I actually studied acting. I got a BFA in September.
Great.
And I've been not doing that much acting now, obviously, since the pandemic. So a little rusty on that.
Yeah.
I tried to do a self-tape the other day, and it went kind of mediocre-ish. And I just got to get, I guess, into it a little bit more again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, nothing's to say that one can't have like scene partners and like a Zoom acting classes, where you can actually just practice stuff, So yeah.
Exactly. I do want to sign up for some like online classes now, or just to like get into the headspace again.
Yeah.
And I do have a roommate that's also an actress.
That's good.
We're working on some stuff now that we want to do because when we realize the lockdown is going to be another 3 months and we're both on like artist visa, like we're not on the O1, we're working on the O1.
Yes.
And so we're currently on our OPT, and hers is expiring soon and mine is going till October, and we don't know if we're going to get extended.
Yeah.
What happened because we lost now already 2 months of worth of what would be our working time.
Yes.
And we work.
Yes.
So we're gonna make our own content with as minimal as we can in our homes, like basically like ripple effect, but our version of it, and just trying to make it work as good as we can.
Yes.
So yeah, we're doing that, and it's great.
And where are you from again?
I'm from Austria.
Ah, Austria. Well, great. That's one of my friends is from Austria. I think he's there now. He lives in the apartment below us, and he's a filmmaker. So we'll have to connect you up with him. He's a table member as well. But and he's permanently lives here, and so so definitely we should connect you up, because I'm sure he had various ways that he was able to make that work. Yeah, and we've also helped a lot of our table members get their visas and so forth. So I'm sure David can help, and we can help, and so don't hesitate on that one. So is there anything else beyond that you need?
Not for now. You know, I'm just working on getting my website up finally, and getting my reel on there, and then I hopefully have that by next week, so I can like send it to you guys on here, and you can tell me what you think, what I can move on, and I like the feedback.
That'll be great. Well, 3 cheers, Beta. Yay! So, so Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi Space Command question?
Yes. Let's go to... we're just going to do just 2 more questions here.
Great. Terrific.
Good question from Yul Adamas, who asks, will there be any other beings that helped humans evolve to then search space? Like I think he's referring to other than the Yama.
The Yama. There are, how should I phrase this? We will be gaining from other species various things. So the Yama will not be the only alien species that we deal with, but some will be friendly and some will not. And so there's that. And again, you know, part of this is me just coming up with ideas and seeing what I like. And, you know, so the one thing that's true about being a writer is you really never know what you're going to come up with ultimately. You just kind of try to get to something of quality. And so, you know, watch this space. I mean, basically, you know, so I guess, Michelle, you're up. Go for it.
Okay. Let's see. I have been trying to go along with what has been suggested and seems like a really good idea about setting aside certain pieces of time to get things done.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful idea, but everything that you set aside time for winds up taking 2 or 3 times as much time as it's supposed to.
Yes.
And there goes your day. It's been really interesting. In addition to which, in the middle of all of this, I realized that I did not do something I should have done a couple of months ago, which is apply for my renewed passport.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a new picture taken yesterday. And it's not as bad as these things frequently are, and thank God they're doing them in color now, so we don't look too much like we just crawled out the tomb. Tomorrow, at least I think not. Anyway, tomorrow the wonderful Adam is going to help me do a piece of taping that needs me to speak about myself and how wonderful I am. And try and restrain your laughter, folks. What's her name? Alison McBride, the casting director, put out a thing for she wants to meet new people. God bless her for that. And she, either 2 scenes or a scene and a monologue or a scene and a stand-up if you do that sort of thing, plus a piece where one talks about oneself. And one never knows what to say. Some of us have done lots of different things in our lives, many of which are not related to acting. And I understand that they like to know that you have something to do with your life other than just, I want a job, you know. So I'm trying to think which of the more fascinating aspects of my existence I should grace her with.
Right.
The other question, though, is she said where is this little phrase here? If there was only one thing you can tell me about yourself as an actor, what is it? I got a problem with that.
Right.
That's real simple. I'm a professional.
Yes, that's good. That's great. What in terms of
That's all I have to say about it.
right. In terms
I
of
show up on time. I learn my lines. I do my thing.
Right,
I don't
right.
make excuses.
Yeah, well, but in terms of the other one, think about what's going to emotionally engage the person. So if there's something you can tell them about you that will move them emotionally or impress them emotionally, that's very, very good. Okay, so
I felt I'd start with the fact that I'm a widow twice.
Yes,
that doesn't seem like the right thing to do to me. Hey, we're gonna have fun here, folks.
You can start with that if you say, this is what I learned from it, or this is how he came away from it stronger. If there's an insight that you had that made your life more meaningful, that's valid. So it's never about, here's the trick. It's never about, oh, this is a problem I have and I'm going to be a handful. It's never about that. But if it's like, this is something that happened to me in the past that I know no longer is a problem, but this is what I grew from, this is what I learned from, that's fine. Like, for instance, I know actors who in the past were alcoholics, and now they're in 12-step, and they're solid. But the fact that they had that experience informed their art. And so I don't worry about, oh, God, can I hire this person because they may fall off the wagon? I don't even think about that. I think about, oh, they've been through a lot, and there's a depth to their performance that is informed by what they lived through. So that's
a lot of it's about just survival,
Yes.
And after anybody gets to like 50, I would say everyone's been through something traumatic, at least one or two things that have been, something that you had to climb out of the pit about.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's, in that sense, being a survivor is a part of it.
Good. But that was just.
I'd like to be funnier about it than that.
Yeah, but again, don't try to be funny. Try to be genuine. Try to be authentic. That's what really.
I'm genuinely funny.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine. But again,
no, I'm actually taking you quite seriously, even though it doesn't appear that I am.
Because I certainly reveal a lot about myself and what I do and what I talk about. And again, there's certain stories I won't tell for various reasons, but I definitely, and even in my writing, I'll pull out there's something I've been wanting to put in a script for a long time, and I just did, and it's like, we'll see if it plays. But it's really interesting because it was a very unusual, unlikely response to grief on the part of one of my family members that I was there for, and it was really interesting. So anything else, Michelle? Anything else you need?
No, I just have to get through this thing tomorrow and hope that Adam comes down from Norway, where is clearly where he is, because I can see the northern lights behind him. So if he gets back from Norway, we'll shoot this thing tomorrow.
Great. Well, we wish you all the best. So yay, 3 cheers. Yeah, there we go. You're traveling. You're traveling, Adam. So
there we go. I made it to Warner Brothers Studios.
Yeah. So I guess if there's a final Mr. Sci-Fi question, then you can have your turn as well.
Yeah, that sounds good. Mark Lungo asks. He says he forgets. Is George Takei going to be in Space Command?
I don't know. I've written a role for him in Sweet Haven, but I'm gonna call him and Brad and talk to them and see where they are right now, just in terms of everything. I was mentioning to Dave that at one point I was thinking of casting James Hong and George Takei as historians who would bicker, and they'd be talking about the storyline of Space Command as though it were history looking back, and they would just be these very funny odd couple of actors, just because it would be so fun to see James Hong and George Takei together in a scene. But I ended up not doing that simply because it was too superfluous. It was like fun, but it really didn't. I couldn't figure out how to get it to actually go anywhere other than be fun, and so I didn't do it. But I have written a major role for George in Sweet Haven, so we'll be talking to him about that. So go now. It's your turn. Go for it.
Yeah. Hi everyone. For those who don't know me, if there's anyone there that doesn't know me, I'm Adam Sartain. I'm an actor, voice actor, musician that plays the tuba. That's my musician part. And I can do over 75 different voices, accents, impressions, many of which you can find on my Instagram, which I posted in the chat earlier. And
go.
Huh?
And go.
Yeah. And I work on Space Command. Yay.
I thought you were going to do all the voices.
Oh no, God. We don't have time. We certainly don't have time for all of them. Oh boy. I guess for that one, I'd have to change to here. There we go.
That's funny.
But anyway, as you can see, I'm also very tech savvy, which recently I was able to be a part of and help facilitate a Zoom table read for a movie that a friend of Brian McClure's has been writing and producing. And what else did I? Oh, and my tuba playing was on Paula Poundstone's podcast.
Wow! Yay!
Recently, yes, I was her house band. For nobody listens to Paula Poundstone.
And how did that come about?
A friend of mine forwarded me a thing saying that they were looking for musicians. And I emailed her producer asking, does tuba count? And they said, yes, come on.
That's great. That's great.
Speaking of playing the tuba, I have a YouTube series called Adam Plays the Tuba.
Wow.
I'm way behind, and I definitely need to get a new episode up on that. But I'm also going to be playing for my alma mater this Saturday. UC Davis is where I went to college. They're having, and UC Davis are the Aggies, and they're having an Aggie Jam with several musicians who are alumni will be performing online.
Great.
I'm going to be participating in that this Saturday.
Oh, cool.
And other than that, just lots of voiceover auditions I've been doing, lots of helping Michelle and, getting out there, doing the best I can.
Great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So now Elena's back, so it's your turn, Elaine.
It's my
Go
turn?
for it. Yeah,
Okay,
go for
yes.
it. Bring it home.
Yeah, so again, forgive the little terrier situation.
Yes.
I know nothing new from last time. It's just great to see you all. We're plugging away with Ripple Effect.
Yes.
Finished first pass at a pilot for Masmiano.
Elaine was writing doing a rewrite on a pilot for Mossy. Yeah.
And getting up Voiceless Roar, the website. So with the help of many people, including David Bartlett.
That's the feature project. Yeah.
Feature project. So that's about all for me. Just blissfully keeping busy rather than going mad. Yes.
Speaking of which, Don Balderramos has dropped by.
Hello, Don.
Hi, Don.
Jesus.
Hello.
Wow, you're just at the very end.
Don, who has a major role in
Voiceless Roar
yes.
and in Space Command.
Yes.
So yeah.
Hi, Don.
Hi, Don.
A shout out to Elaine, who looks wonderful on the website, and it was great to see all those nice pictures of her too.
Oh, that's great. Yes, yes,
great.
yes. And
Yes, Michelle and Don both were very helpful in helping create scenes for roles in the Voiceless Roar.
Great. So is there anything else you need, Elaine?
No, that's all from me
well,
right now.
So Don, why don't you take a turn, because you're the last person, and I'll have my turn, and then we can call it a night.
Sure. Yeah, I won't drag it out too long, but I do want to congratulate Elaine, because I know she's worked so hard.
Yeah.
But also, a wonderful writer that she is.
Thanks.
And very, very proud to be involved. And of course, in being Captain Parkhill in Space Command. And just been doing like everybody, just hanging in there. Been doing a lot of open call auditions, that kind of thing. And speaking of that, because of self-tapes, I just wanted to know, someone out there, perhaps David would know anybody, can you modify your voice? I've been pretty successful with doing my own self-tapes with the other character, on another tape recorder, if you will. And I look at the graphs. I look at the chart, the graph, the voice graph, the meter, and it
The wave
I
file.
come in on my line. So my question is that is there any way I can modify that other voice so it doesn't sound so tinny? I mean, it's not like really bad, but I just thought if they're like on GarageBand and I can't get Audacity on my MacBook Air.
Let's pass that along to Earl.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah. You can.
If you want to send me a message, at my email, Earl F. Smith, I can help you with that. I deal with sound and fixing a lot of problems.
Good. Perfect.
Yes.
Now, do I send it? Is there your email here? Or?
Yeah.
I'll put it in the group chat.
Okay, great.
But it's just my name, earlfsmith at gmail.com.
And,
Okay, great.
And
Okay,
just to give you a piece of advice
That's
on
it.
that, Don, it's the way you would do that is you would not use the audio recorded playing the tape recorder. What you do is import the audio from the original source. So you would import the file, the audio file, and edit it together with your audio. That's how you can have it sound better. But Earl definitely will be able to help you with that.
Okay, great.
Great.
I think he's saying that the quality of the two locations don't match.
Well, no, but he's actually playing it over a tape recorder or whatever source, and it sounds tinny through the speaker.
That's just for his timing, I think.
Anyway, but they can sort it out. So anything else,
Send me
Don?
an email and I'll help you with that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Anything else, Don?
no, that's good. Thank
Okay,
you.
yay, 3 cheers, thank God. Okay, so, and Adam, is there anything else I need to address to the Space Commander, Mr. Sci-Fi things? Anything else?
No, we'll catch them
Great.
next week.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks to all of you for being here. In terms of me, another slow week as ever. So far, we've raised over $100,000 during the pandemic to keep Space Command going. And so we're still selling Space Command shares. We're still, ramping up to shoot the 4th hour when the studio is able to open again. The studio is open in terms of building sets and all of that and creatures. So that all continues, and I've kept my staff on salary, Dave and so forth, and that's been incredibly helpful. And Dave, of course, is working like a demon. So with Ripple Effect, which is the Space Command episode that we wrote, that Elaine and I wrote, and we've directed and produced and made during the pandemic, during the lockdown, we are only a few minutes away from having all the footage. And Christina Moses just sent a first take that I followed over to you. Christina,
I'm putting it in right now. We've gone from an hour and a half to an hour and 37 minutes.
Great. Well, I haven't even watched the scene yet because it just came in. But Christina stars in A Million Little Things on ABC, so she's a wonderful actress and a dear friend. So we're writing that and making that show, continuing with post on hour 2, continuing with prep on hour 4. And then beyond that, I just finished the new pilot with Rockney O'Bannon, Sweet Haven. So we're going to be doing a table read with our actors that everyone can watch. And we're going to have a Space Command convention in a few weeks where people can see the first hour, the pilot, and we'll premiere Ripple Effect. And then we'll have panels throughout the day, live streaming. It's going to be super fun. If you haven't subscribed
What happened to our Zoom?
Huh? Are you guys can still hear me? Can you still hear me, Dave and everybody? Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. So if you aren't subscribed to Mr. Sci-Fi, subscribe, because that's where everything's going to be happening, and Adam and I will be coordinating on how to make that all happen. But again, and then I'm creating 6 shows for the Showrunners Network. I'm writing the Greet Lighting Yourself book, and doing Space Command with Elaine and the dogs. The dogs are now stars in Space Command. They'll have their own headshot with David Bartlett, and they can do their paw prints, and it's going to be absolutely terrific. So I don't really need anything at this stage other than everyone who's been helping and everyone who's been supporting us emotionally and so forth. And it just keeps going. It's super cool. So one thing I do need, if anyone knows a 10-year-old Black or mixed race actress, she doesn't even have to really be an actress, but just very pretty and very smart, very intelligent seeming, very intense.
Faith.
What?
My daughter, Faith.
Oh, cool. Well, so send me, Earl, if you want to follow up with me and just send me video or whatever, because I have a certain sequence that I need done, and I would love that. So yeah, so follow up with me and we'll coordinate on that. Okay.
Sounds great.
Cool. Great. Well, that was easy. So thanks to everyone. It's been another great evening as always. Stay safe, stay well, and anything you need, the table is here for you all the time. So thanks very much. Thanks everyone. Thanks to Mr. Sci-Fi fans, and we'll be talking again real soon, guys. So thanks a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye. Talk soon. Talk soon. So.